Chapter 401, Here Comes Busey II. As they were talking, Zio Gilwen arrived, full of curiosity. She descended from the wind and bowed to Li Xuanxun, saying respectfully, "Father." Li Xuanxun waved his hand, signaling her to speak. He then urgently asked, "What did Zio Gidu say?" Zio Gilwen hesitated for a moment and then repeated her brother's words. Li Yunjiao and Li Xuanxun were both stunned, looking at her in disbelief. "Our family's Purple Mansion Realm Cultivator." Li Yunjiao was dazed for a few moments, frowning as he looked up and said in a deep voice, "Where would our family get a Purple Mansion Realm Cultivator? If the Li family had one, we would not be in our current state." Li Xuanxun put away the talisman in his hand, still puzzled. Zio Gilwen herself was also confused. Seeing Li Yunjiao's genuine expression, she hesitated and said slowly, "Perhaps it is a good thing, but I always feel uneasy for some reason." Li Yunjiao turned the cup in his hand silently and said softly, "No wonder Zio Gidu was so courteous. What should we do now?" Zio Gilwen asked. Li Yunjiao, surprisingly calm, had a fleeting image of the immortal mirror in his mind before replying nonchalantly, "Act as if nothing happened. Proceed as usual." He had a guess. The family's immortal mirror was of extremely high rank yet excelled at concealment. Perhaps Zio's shooting miscalculated due to this misunderstanding. He could not send someone to the Zio family to clarify either. Whether Zio Gidu believed it or not, if word spread to others, it could spell trouble. If Zio's shooting can return safely and promptly, everything will be fine. If he cannot return. Li Yunjiao said this, but in his heart, he felt that Zio's shooting was definitely not someone who would take risks rashly and get trapped. With the mysterious nature of the man on creek, it was more likely that he would be the one setting traps for others. He shook his head and continued, "Zio's shooting would never risk himself unnecessarily. It is likely a calculated exchange. Do not worry about the Zio family. Let us prepare to deal with the devil cultivators first." Seeing Li Yunjiao casually brush off the matter, Zio Gilwen had no choice but to nod. Suddenly a moment of clarity struck her mind and she felt inexplicably uneasy. She gasped, "Oh no." Both men looked over to see Zio Gilwen's face turn pale as she murmured, "No wonder I felt so uneasy. Brother has been hit by a divine ability. It is Busey. No wonder. I understand now. I understand. Busey intentionally met with him. No wonder he demanded the Purple Mansion Realm expert to come personally. He forced my brother to meet him." Zio Gilwen continued, "Brother is only at the Qi cultivation realm, while Busey is already at the mid-stage of the Purple Mansion realm. He must have used his divine ability to confuse and shake his mind, forcing him to seek help. He probably wanted to see what the Zio family's backup plan was." Zio Gilwen had only brief contact with him, but was already influenced to the point of distraction, showing how deep Zio Gidu's enchantments were. If it were someone less resolute, they would have broken down and revealed all secrets by now. "What?" Li Yunjiao was momentarily stunned but quickly reacted, horrified. "What level is the Zio family's formation? Does the Zio family have the means to isolate from the outside? If Busey overheard your conversation with your brother, his next step would be to come to our house." Busey was no ordinary Purple Mansion Realm cultivator. If he learned that the Li family had a Purple Mansion Realm cultivator, he would definitely visit personally. Their family did not have one, and they had a hidden treasure on the mountain. If it was seen by a Purple Mansion Realm cultivator, it would spell the end of the family. If Busey saw this treasure that absorbs the supreme yin moonlight, he wouldn't care about the Azure Pond sect or Mount Dali. He would slaughter our family and flee with the treasure. Li Yunjiao thought of the worst-case scenario. Impossible. Zio Gilwen, freed from Busey's divine influence and much clearer-headed, said decisively, "Our Zio family's main hall was personally refined by our ancestor. It has a barrier with the Great Void. Even Busey would have to lower himself, land on the mountaintop, and then enter the hall. It is impossible for him to overhear our conversation. Once isolated from the Great Void, even if someone died inside, their sole lamp in the sect would not extinguish immediately, let alone leave any means to eavesdrop." Li Yunjiao glanced at her, still feeling a chill run down his spine as he murmured, "Let's hope that's the case." The water on Moongaze Lake rippled as a green-robed cultivator descended with the wind, landing on a small island in the lake, Moongaze Marsh. He gazed silently at the blue water, calculating that it had been over 100 years since he last came to this place. In the records of the Azure Pond sect, the spiritual energy here was once the greatest in the Yue state, a treasure land of the immortal mansion with white mist curled around the vast marsh. 500 years ago, it plummeted, and later, the siege of Li Jiangquan severely damaged the spiritual energy, almost depleting it entirely. Taoist Master Busey looked around. His grandfather and uncles all died in that great battle. Now hundreds of years old, he still felt that the green water had a tinge of red to it. Jiangquan is dead. The bright moon rises in the east, its light like frost. Snow falls in the prefecture. The lake sparkles with a myriad of lights, red and green intertwine. The Purple Mansion Realm cultivators who died in that battle were countless. Some returned home with an indelible sword intent, slowly awaiting death. But the spectacle over the lake was more magnificent than the previous 100 years combined. Li Jianquan never had the chance to transform into a spirit object. His flesh was divided among the three sects, treated as precious treasures. What followed was the reckoning with Lingyu Gate and the extermination of a few immortal clans. He snapped out of his recollections, shook his head, and withdrew his gaze, extending his spiritual sense to search the bottom of the lake repeatedly. "I'll search 3 times. If there is nothing, I'll leave." The lakebed of Moongaze Lake churned, treacherous and filled with numerous demons, some of which were Foundation Establishment realm creatures. Usually domineering, they now trembled in the mud, cowering in fear before the Purple Mansion Taoist master. Buzi ignored them, carefully searching 3 times. Finding nothing, he could not resist searching 2 more times. Finally, he shook his head and sighed. Still nothing. I supposed it's not so easily found. In fact, the sects had long given up on finding the supreme yin moonlight in Moongaze Lake. It was more likely to be found in the ruins of the Eastern Sea. However, Buzi could not resist coming after hearing Li Zijai's account. The Purple Mansion realm expert aiding the Zhao family did not show up. It might be Zhao Xianyu's favor. It is best to release Zhao shooting first, to avoid further complications. Buzi glanced at Mount Dali, swung his sleeve, and vanished into the Great Void. Watching Buzi vanish into the Great Void, Lu Zhongxian finally let out a long sigh of relief. Thank goodness, he was not coming for me. When Taoist Master Buzi passed by the Ding family and stepped into Moongaze Lake, Lu Zhongxian was immediately alerted. Seeing this man with such a formidable aura, he briefly feared that he had been exposed. As he secretly calculated whether he could escape from Buzi, a mid-stage Purple Mansion realm cultivator who had mastered 3 divine abilities, he realized that Buzi was just passing by to search for the Supreme Yin Moonlight. In the future, the Li family must not expose the Supreme Yin Moonlight again. If another one appears, this lake will constantly be visited by Purple Mansion realm cultivators. The 3 sects might even start fighting over the ownership of Moongaze Lake. As he pondered this silently, he noticed a ripple in the Great Void once more. Buzi, dressed in green, returned. He was stepping lightly over the water, which startled Lu Zhongxian. This guy, what is he up to now? Lu Zhongxian cursed. Buzi had a slight smile on his face as he calmly landed on the lake, looking toward the glittering grand formation on Mount Dali. Isn't there still the Li family? That Li Zijai is just a young brat and might not know the family's secrets. If the cave dwelling contains such a precious item as the Supreme Yin Moonlight, there might be other treasures as well. Chapter 402, Soul-Searching Eye. Listening to Zhao Gilwen's explanation, Li Yunjiao felt a chill in his heart, his mind racing with countless thoughts. Where is Buzi now? Has he heard anything about our family? Zhao Gidu had just been hit by his divine ability, and Gilwen immediately went to see him. Wouldn't Buzi misunderstand this? Should I replace the immortal mirror with Kinch sword? Li Yunjiao believed that if he quietly placed the bronze immortal mirror in the woods or a river, even a Purple Mansion realm cultivator would not find it. No one would suspect a thing if he replaced it with the Kinch sword on the stone platform. He pondered, his legs stiffening as another possibility crossed his mind. The speed of a Purple Mansion realm cultivator far exceeds that of a Qi cultivator. If Buzi has already reached Moongaze Lake, he could be watching from the Great Void right now. If Buzi was indeed at Moongaze Lake and used the Great Void to bypass the Sunright Profound Light formation, any action he took now would be under Buzi's watchful eye, and attempting to retrieve the mirror would be suicidal. But I can't just sit by and wait to be killed. A Purple Mansion realm cultivator wouldn't waste time idly watching from the Great Void. With a single sweep of his divine ability, he could learn everything. Buzi shouldn't be at the lake. Li Yunjiao knew that a Purple Mansion realm cultivator could travel in an instant, much faster than Zhao Gilwen's return. His thoughts spun rapidly, but his actions did not stop. He suddenly called out in a deep voice, "Gilwen, return to Mount Wudu at once." With that, he headed to the backyard. Zhao Gilwen, understanding the urgency in his tone, left swiftly like them. Li Xuanxuan's face also changed drastically, wanting to speak but stopping himself. Li Yunjiao stepped out, feeling a sudden warning in his mind. The profound pearl talisman seed in his Qihai acupoint trembled, sending chills through his body as though he was being watched by something sinister. Oh no. He stopped abruptly, only to see the space in front of him darken. Slowly, the image of a green-robed cultivator appeared, standing with his hands behind his back. The green-robed cultivator had a small smile on his face. He looked to be around 27 or 28, dressed in a flowing robe. His long hair fluttered in the wind as he stared at Li Yunjiao quietly. Taoist Master Buzi. Li Yunjiao felt a bitterness in his mouth as Buzi raised his head. The sleeve of his green robe moved as he held up a small, exquisite white jade bottle in his right hand. What is this? Buzi asked casually, but his question made Li Yunjiao break out in a cold sweat. The jade bottle in Taoist Master Buzi's hand came from the Li family's treasure vault, containing a talisman pill that the immortal mirror had condensed. Buzi has been to our treasure vault. Li Yunjiao hurriedly bowed, feigning a terrified demeanor, and said in a trembling voice, Junior Li Yunjiao from the Li family under the governance of Azure Pond greets Taoist Master Buzi. His voice was neither too loud nor soft, but it was enough for Li Xuanxuan, who was standing guard outside, to hear clearly. Li Xuanxuan was so terrified that he almost went to retrieve the mirror. Just as he took a step, Li Xuanxuan realized that the spiritual sense of a Purple Mansion realm cultivator could easily cover the entire Mount Lijing. Going to the backyard now would be like doing so right in front of Buzi. Outside, Li Xuanxuan was like an ant on a hot pan, while inside, Li Yunjiao tried to buy time, quickly making a judgment in his mind. Buzi broke through the great void and immediately went to our treasure vault, attracted by the talisman pill, and is directly asking about it. Although a Purple Mansion realm cultivator could easily bypass most formations via the great void and enter it, their spiritual sense could not penetrate the formations. They had to go in person to sense what was inside. The Li family had 5 mountains with over 20 formations, and with the small formations protecting the spirit fields, there were likely over 100. Buzi could not possibly check each one. Even Mount Lijing had 5 separate formations, 3 for spirit fields, 1 for the ancestral hall and 1 for the family vault. He only went to the treasure vault at the mountaintop and has not been to the ancestral hall yet. Countless thoughts flashed through his mind as Kai Buzi watched him. You recognize me? Kai Buzi asked. Li Yunjiao bowed again and respectfully said, I have seen portraits of the 4 Taoist masters of the upper sect. Taoist Master Yuanwu and Taoist Master Yuanzu are both white-haired cultivators. Only you and Taoist Master Yuansu are young men in green robes. Taoist Master Yuansu is stationed in the southern border all year round, so it must be you. Not bad. Kai Buzi smiled and looked at him. Among the remaining 4 Purple Mansion realm cultivators of Azure Pond, Tang Yuanwu, Si Boxu, and Ning Tianxia were all of the same generation, serving as the left and right arms of Kai Wei, hence using Yuan as their Taoist title. He was from a later generation, and by the time he reached the Purple Mansion realm, the Azure Pond sect no longer followed the custom of using Taoist titles. Hence, he was simply called Buzi. Seeing that Li Yunjiao could name so many Purple Mansion realm cultivators from Azure Pond, his smile broadened as he repeated, What is this thing? Of course, he was referring to the talisman pill. Li Yunjiao responded promptly and respectfully, This item was obtained by our clan in a cave dwelling, along with the supreme yin moonlight of that year. The clan could not identify this pill or discern its quality, and we feared possessing a valuable item would bring disaster, so we did not dare reveal it. Kai Buzi waved his hand to interrupt him, smiling brightly as he remarked, This pill has excellent boundary-breaking effects and is quite rare. It seems to be made with an ancient method. I see that your clan's fortune is not shallow. Just as Li Yunjiao was about to reply, he suddenly felt a wave of panic overwhelm him. The world before him turned gray and dark, shrouded in a misty gloom as if draped in a veil of darkness, making everything hazy. Divine ability. A cramping pain shot through his stomach and his face felt damp. His consciousness splintered into fragments, with large sections of text and images drifting through his mind. With the last vestiges of his awareness, he clamped his mouth shut, his lips trembling. The talisman seed in his Kihai acupoint emitted a slight coolness, keeping his consciousness intact but not fully awakening him to avoid revealing any abnormalities. Outside, Li Xuanxuan was also affected by the divine ability. Fortunately, Buzi focused on Li Yunjiao alone, so Li Xuanxuan only felt slightly dizzy and immediately recognized it as a divine ability. Feeling his mind growing increasingly muddled, Li Xuanxuan, knowing his will was weak, slapped the Shenyang mansion between his eyebrows with his palm before collapsing with a thud. Kai Buzi paid no attention to Li Yunjiao's reactions. He waited for Li Yunjiao to kneel and become dazed, then gently placed a hand on Li Yunjiao's Shenyang mansion. Pressing the spot between his defiant brows, he performed a hand seal with his other hand. Yin Quarters 9 Hills Heart Questioning Spell. This technique was a pure soul-searching spell from the Taoist sects, far superior to the crude methods of devil cultivators. Once a forbidden spell hindering the Tao path, it had now become a useful immortal method. Li Yunjiao's act was flawless, but Kai Buzi had no interest in guessing the origin of the pill. Whether Li Yunjiao told the truth or lied, he did not care to listen to the details. A soul-searching spell would reveal everything. Kai Buzi focused intently, closing his eyes slightly. He has used this spell many times with unfailing success. His spiritual sense smoothly entered Li Yunjiao's sea of consciousness, guiding all his memories to the surface. The origin of this pill. He manipulated the spell and colorful lights appeared in his hand. These then entered Li Yunjiao's Shenyang mansion, transforming into pale gray runes that danced in his sea of consciousness. Chapter 403, Soul-Searching II. Kai Buzi's vision darkened for a few moments before a dimly lit secret chamber appeared, cold and icy, with 1 or 2 flickers of white mana light. This is a cave dwelling. Kai Busey's gaze shifted, noticing the floor, intricately patterned, with osmanthus trees bearing ethereal white flowers that were fragrant yet chilling. What is this? It looks somewhat like the moon-glazed tree, our sect's purple mansion realm's spirit root. Given that this was the place where supreme yin moonlight was obtained, some anomalies were expected. Kai Busey quickly looked away, then saw a stone platform ahead which was shrouded in a white mist, exuding an aura of mystery. Kai Busey's heart stirred, but then he heard rustling noises. Golden and white osmanthus flowers fell, their golden stamens and pleasant fragrance particularly striking in the misty moonlight. Rustle, rustle. Several lively, adorable toads and rabbits hopped out from the dark corners, trampling on the fallen osmanthus petals. Li Yuanjiao finally straightened up, allowing Busey to see what was on the platform. Suspended on the stone platform was a small grayish-green sphere, inscribed with ancient and profound runes. Suddenly, a pair of eyes appeared on it. They were gentle yet indifferent and majestic. On the peak of Mount Lijing, Kai Busey's hand, which was hidden in his sleeve and performing the hand seals of his spell, began to tremble violently. Tears of blood streamed from his eyes that were closed tightly, trailing down his cheeks and making him look especially terrifying. Drip, drop. 2 droplets of blood tears fell to the stone floor, shattering 2 bricks, then rolled like beads, producing crisp, echoing sounds. Busey's arrival was too sudden, a consequence of his reckless pursuit of supreme yin moonlight for Li Qijing's Dao Foundation years ago. Although Si Yunbai had claimed to have obtained the moonlight himself to protect the Li family, deceiving the various Purple Mansion realm cultivators, no one had anticipated that the matter would resurface years later. Eventually, some greedy individuals took a chance and personally visited the Li family. I guess there's no running away this time. The immortal mirror had not regained its full power, but its inherent rank was exceedingly high. Once it was used for calculations, it was equivalent to predicting the fate of those above the Dao embryo realm. Lu Zhongxian had borrowed its power back then and was well aware of its capabilities. Whether it was Master Monk Minghui or Maha Jinlian, they were merely following Li Qingheng's trail. When Lu Zhongxian directed them to the mirror, they immediately suffered significant losses. The talisman seed of the mirror was even more domineering. Those in the Li family who bore the profound pearl talisman seed had their souls, fates, and cultivation all linked to it. As long as Lu Zhongxian willed it, no one could touch them. Now, with Busey searching Li Yunjiao's soul, he should have found nothing. Seeing Busey's persistence, Lu Zhongxian grew increasingly fearful. If Li Yunjiao's soul search failed, it would only raise more suspicion and complicate the situation. Ultimately, he might be exposed. The Supreme Yin Profound Light was only at the Foundation Establishment realm, but it was powerful enough to instantly kill a Peak Foundation Establishment realm cultivator or even threaten a Purple Mansion realm cultivator. However, Kai Busey was not a stationary target and could escape into the Great Void, making it impossible to hit him. Seeing Busey initiate the soul search and about to reach the mirror, Lu Zhongxian gritted his teeth and thought to himself, I might as well use the talisman seed as a bridge and connect to Kai Busey's spell immediately. Although Lu Zhongxian was not skilled in soul-searching techniques, his proficiency in shamanic talisman had grown considerably over the years. Moonlight surged as it connected to fate, and the immortal mirror lit up, forcefully crashing into Kai Busey's sea of consciousness. Although I have not recovered, my divine sense far exceeds ordinary spiritual senses. Only by using this technique to counterattack can I hope for a chance at survival. Li Yuanjiao's consciousness drifted in a haze for a long time before suddenly clearing. A cool sensation rose from his Qihai acupoint, and he snapped his eyes open. Before him was Kai Busey's hand, pressed against his forehead. All around him was pitch black and gloomy, the corners shrouded in darkness, and the atmosphere was oppressive. It was the time of day when baleful qi was at its peak. The sky had already darkened, indicating that nearly 2 hours had passed. The blood-red setting sun, accompanied by dark red clouds, flowed on the horizon, signaling an ominous portent. He glanced around and saw that the ground was covered with glittering red jade beads, lying quietly and reflecting dazzling colors in the dim light, creating a rather beautiful scene. Taoist Master, Li Yunjiao called out cautiously, unsure of what Kai Busey had done to him with his divine ability. He bowed his head in silence. I am still alive. Kai Busey must not have discovered anything. Kai Busey gave no response. A sense of unease rose within Li Yunjiao. After a long moment, he began to step back slowly. Kai Busey remained silent, his sleeve hanging limply. When Li Yunjiao finally looked up, he saw that the Taoist master's face was grim and his eyes were tightly shut. The darkened twilight illuminated Kai Busey's face, revealing 2 streams of blood tears. The sight struck Li Yunjiao like a thunderclap, leaving his mind blank. Kai Busey, what is this? Drip. Blood flowed down continuously Kai Busey's cheeks, dripping from his chin as 2 blood beads hit the ground, transforming instantly into sparkling red jade beads. They collided with the ones on the ground, creating a series of crisp clinking sounds. Li Yunjiao now understood how the jade beads had come to be. Though he felt somewhat relieved, he was also horrified and took a step back. Kai Buzi remained motionless like a statue in the dim twilight. Li Yunjiao cautiously extended his spiritual sense to scan Kai Buzi, only to find nothing but an empty shell where the previous oppressive aura had been. The jade bottle containing the talisman pill had fallen from Kai Buzi's sleeve and shattered on the ground. The pill rolled out and settled in a crack between the bricks. Silently, Li Yunjiao moved out of the courtyard. His father, Li Xuanxuan, lay stiffly on the ground. Li Yunjiao checked his breathing, which was steady and long, then spotted a bloody wound on his head, indicating that he had been knocked unconscious. Li Yunjiao immediately took to the air, his spiritual sense sweeping the area. The two clan guards outside the courtyard seemed to have been affected by a spell and were sound asleep, snoring loudly. Seeing that some were beginning to stir, Li Yunjiao hurried back into the courtyard. He closed the gate hurriedly and helped Li Xuanxuan to his feet, using a spell to awaken him. Li Xuanxuan gradually regained consciousness, groggy and bewildered. Upon seeing Li Yunjiao, he asked in shock, "Where is the Taoist master?" Li Yunjiao gave a bitter laugh, shook his head, and helped Li Xuanxuan up to his feet. Opening the courtyard gate, he saw the two clan guards standing straight, showing no signs of their earlier slumber. "Go fetch King Hong and Yuanping," Li Yunjiao ordered. After the guards left, Li Yunjiao led Li Xuanxuan to the backyard. The sky grew darker, and Kai Buzi remained standing there, tears of blood continually dripping from his stoic face. Li Xuanxuan felt dizzy at the sight. The red jade beads covering the ground gleamed brightly. Jiaor, Li Xuanxuan trembled as he scanned Kai Buzi with his spiritual sense. The man stood like a jade pillar, and it was hard to believe what he saw. He checked repeatedly. The colorful light of Kai Buzi's divine ability and overwhelming aura had vanished. The oppressive presence that once traversed the great void was gone, leaving only his thin green robe on his jade-like body. Kai Buzi's face showed slight pain, but still, the bloody tears continued flowing. Is he dead? Is he really dead? Li Xuanxuan's face turned pale, and he staggered back a few steps, filled not with relief or satisfaction, but with trembling fear. The Azure Pond Sect. How many years has it been since a Purple Mansion Realm cultivator was killed? Chapter 404, Awakening. The setting sun was blood-red, casting a gloomy shadow over the surroundings. At Moongaze Lake, an unusual evening fog was particularly thick, reducing visibility to the point where one could not even see their hand right in front of them. The place was eerily silent, and even the insects had fallen silent and still. In the streets of Lijiang Town, people were scarce. The reddish light of the setting sun crept along the bricks. Even the street vendors had become lax, closing up early and heading home, making the large city of tens of thousands feel empty and silent. Li Yuanping hurried up the mountain where his father and brother were already waiting. The clan guards had been dismissed from the courtyard where his elder sister stood, holding a spear with a complex expression. Li Qinghong's face showed a hint of satisfaction, yet her tightly crossed arms revealed a slight unease. It was the first time Li Yuanping had seen his sister like this, immediately raising a question in his mind. "Elder sister." Li Yuanping entered the courtyard and called out to her. Li Qinghong nodded in acknowledgement but said nothing further, closing the courtyard gate. Drip, drip. A crisp sound reached his ears as Li Yuanping slowly crossed the courtyard. His brother Li Yunjiao stood silently in the backyard, while his father Li Xuanxuan sat on the doorstep, holding a handful of red jade beads. The sky was growing darker, and Li Yuanping, lacking spiritual sense, could barely make out the scene in the courtyard. He performed a spell to produce a thin beam of bright light. "Brother, what is this?" Just as he inquired, he slowly lifted his head, realizing that there was another person present. The figure had smooth, jade-like skin and sharp features. He was standing as still as a cold statue, draped in green robes. Li Yuanping's gaze moved slowly until it met a face streaked with bloody tears. Drip. The sound of blood-red beads falling and colliding with each other filled the air as one rolled to his ankle. Li Yunjiao's hoarse voice reached his ear. "This is Taoist Master Buzi from the Azure Pond Sect. He arrived at our home 2 hours ago, found our talisman pill, and ended up like this." Li Xuanxuan, still turned away from them, took a sip of spirit wine from a gourd, his face slightly flushed. He continued where Li Yunjiao left off. "We examined him for a long time, and it seems that Buzi was frightened to death by what he saw." Frightened to death, frightened to death. His father's words echoed in his ears. Li Yuanping stood there, stunned, mumbling in shock. "You mean a Taoist master from the Azure Pond Sect suddenly died in our house?" Fear slowly filled his pale face as he said urgently, "We must flee. At the very least, we need to send the younger family members away this." "No." Li Yunjiao shook his head, his expression dark, clearly having considered this before. He continued in a low voice, "The Azure Pond Sect still does not know about this. His sole lamp in the sect is not extinguished yet. Otherwise, Azure Pond cultivators would have broken through the great void and come here long ago, and our family would have already been destroyed. If a Purple Mansion Realm cultivator from Azure Pond Sect died at Moongaze Lake, the consequences would be unimaginable, especially since this Purple Mansion Realm cultivator was a direct descendant of the Kai family, the actual leaders of Azure Pond sect. The sect would not only be in an uproar, but it might also alarm cultivators above the Purple Mansion Realm. Even if the Azure Pond sect lacked Golden Core Realm cultivators, the cunning nature of Purple Mansion Realm cultivators would prevent them from coming in person. But if they learned of Kai Buzi's death, there would be numerous Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators emerging from the Great Void, turning Moongaze Lake upside down. Everyone understood the gravity of the situation and fell silent. Perhaps the Taoist master is not dead. Li Qinghong suddenly spoke, causing the others to exchange glances and then retreat, closing the small door to the backyard and taking positions in the front yard. Brother. As Li Yuanping reached the front yard, he had calmed down and spoke in a serious tone. Regardless of whether the Taoist master is dead or alive, we must quickly send out the direct family members, dispersing them in all directions to preserve our family's legacy while Azure Pond sect remains unaware. Li Yuanping paused to consider the options, then said, "We could head to the Wu State and take over a small mountain or temple. Although we would lose everything, at least we can survive. Or go to the Eastern Sea where we could seize a small island and bide our time." Li Qinghong interrupted him with a clear voice. "If our entire Li family flees, it will be as good as admitting guilt. The Purple Mansion Realm cultivators can trace our whereabouts. Moreover," her expression turned somewhat forlorn, her voice lowering as her red lips parted, "Grandfather killed wrathful Maha, right here in the southern Yue state, by the shores of Moongaze Lake. The monks of the wrathful form dare not come for revenge, but if we leave this place, those monks, led by the Merciful One, will surely descend upon us like wolves. Forget about the Merciful One. Even a master monk could destroy our family." Li Yuanping suddenly recalled the burden of guilt unjustly placed upon their family by an unknown Purple Mansion Realm cultivator. He gritted his teeth and said, "Then are you suggesting we go to the Yue cultivating sect?" The three major sects usually do not interfere with each other. We are under the governance of the Azure Pond. If we go to the Yue cultivating sect, do you think they will accept us? Li Qinghong clenched her spear and shook her head slightly as she continued, "There's no place for us in the territory of the Yue cultivating sect. We can only be their guest cultivators, and our number of Qi cultivators is not something one or two immortal mountains can sustain." Li Yunjie was silent for a while before transmitting his voice through mana. "The immortal mirror has a high inherent rank. I do not know if the person holding it can be detected. If not, there might be a chance to escape." His meaning was clear. Someone from the Li family should escape with the mirror. Hearing this, Li Xuanxuan and the others fell silent. "If Buzi is dead, then we have a chance. But if he is not, there's no way he'd let us go after this." Li Yunjie continued grimly. The constant dripping of blood in the backyard was nerve-wracking. Finally, Li Xuanxuan, stroking his beard, said, "Jiaor, you take the mirror and leave. Do not concern yourself with the matters of the family." Li Yunjie touched the sword at his waist as he organized his thoughts, but before he could speak, Li Xuanxuan continued, "We will handle the rest. You have the highest cultivation and a low-profile technique. With the King's sword, you can travel far and find a place to seclude yourself and break through to the Foundation Establishment Realm." Li Yunjie gritted his teeth, his thoughts racing as his grip on his sword grew tighter. The courtyard was eerily silent. It was a silence that made one's heart race. The night was bright with the white moonlight casting its glow around their surroundings. Li Yunjie looked up at his siblings, but his expression suddenly froze. There had been no movement for some time. His father, Li Xuanxuan, stood still, clutching his beard, his pupils dilated. Li Yuanping's face was covered in sweat which trickled down his neck. Li Qinghong stood motionless like a statue, her hand holding the Duruo spear which emitted no light. Her grip was so tight that her knuckles turned white. Sweat began forming on the bridge of her delicate nose. "Why is it so quiet?" Li Yunjie suddenly had a bad premonition. Creak. In the white moonlight, the door to the backyard slowly opened. A fair hand rested on the doorframe. The green robe appeared dazzlingly pale in the moonlight as if glowing. Clatter. Red jade beads scattered across the backyard ground, rolling lightly onto the stone bricks of the front yard. Thud. Then it was followed by the sound of a footstep. Chapter 405, Water Mansion Immortal Official I, Azure Pond Sect. Azure Pond Peak was enveloped in swirling clouds and mist. Within the cave dwelling on the mountain, a dark golden bell with intricate patterns hung in the center. It was only rung upon the death of a Taoist master or the ascension of a sect master. Kai Jian landed on the peak hurriedly, followed by a group of Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators. As soon as he landed, a tall young man approached, cupping his fist in greeting. "Sect Master, Hejing." Kai Jian waved his hand urgently, not stopping, and stepped into the stone cave, asking, "How is it?" "The flame is dim and turned bright white. The lamp oil is rising. The 9 lines are flickering. This has never happened before." Ning Hejing's voice was grave. Kai Jian's expression grew increasingly grim as he muttered, "Bright white, how could that be?" He dismissed the others and quickly stepped deeper into the cave dwelling. Several soul lamps rested on lotus seats carved from wood, burning quietly. The wood sculpture was made from soul-tuning mulberry wood, which could foretell blessings and disasters, was impervious to the 5 elements, and feared only thunder. The lamp oil used 9 refined soul essence. Once a precious treasure was now no longer particularly valued. Kaijian focused his gaze, and indeed, Taoist Master Buzi's flame was noticeably smaller. It has changed from a pale gray to bright white, with the patterns on the lamp base interweaving between dark and light. Only Kaijian and Ning Hijing were in the cave, both looking grim. Ning Hijing spoke in a low voice. I have already inquired. The Taoist master left the sect earlier without leaving any message. Kai Buzi was Kaijian's great-grandfather, and Kaijian's lineage was the maternal family of Ning Hijing's branch. The two grew up together, their interests closely intertwined, making them almost like real brothers. As soon as Kaijian became sect master, Ning Hijing was appointed as the peak master of Yuanxing Peak, gaining significant influence within the sect. Now that there was an issue with Kai Buzi, he was naturally worried. Do Taoist masters Yuanwu and Yuanziu know of this? Kaijian blurted out suddenly. Ning Hijing shook his head and replied, Rest assured, clan brother. I have sealed off this information immediately. The 2 disciples guarding the lamps are trusted members and will not leak this news. As of now, only Taoist master Yuansu is aware. Good. Kaijian praised him and speculated in a low voice. Now the devil cultivators are running rampant. Without the man on creek, they cannot be contained. Xiao Shooting is trapped in the Eastern Sea, and the Taoist master must have gone to find him. Kaijian tapped the edge of the table anxiously and muttered, Could it be Zhang Tianyuan? What is his Golden Feather sect thinking? Do they not fear ruining things? That is not necessarily so. A clear voice echoed through the cave. Kaijian and Ning Hijing both relaxed, respectfully stepping aside as they greeted the newcomer. Welcome, Taoist master. Taoist master Yuansu, dressed in green, his robe looser with a small white seal at his waist and a slightly rounded face, spoke softly. Zhang Qiushui of Golden Feather Sect has mastered the moistening radiant lead life divine ability, which can also attract these devil cultivators. Just not as effectively as Man on Creek or Heavy Murk. The matter of the true monarch is crucial. It will not be entirely entrusted to the 3 of us. Kaijian and Ning Hijing both bowed their heads respectfully. Taoist master Yuansu continued. However, without at least 5 or 6 Purple Mansion Realm cultivators, it is impossible to detain Buzi. Zhang Tianyuan cannot orchestrate such a formation. At most, he would cause Buzi some trouble. Taoist master Yuansu appeared unconcerned, smiling as he continued. Buzi is just like my senior brother was in life, now having reached the mid-stage of the Purple Mansion Realm. Over the decades, he has become arrogant and conceited, yet also inherently greedy. Though he is calculating, it is rare for him to suffer setbacks. It will not be a problem. Kaijian and Ning Hijing, not daring to interrupt, shrank back like quails. After a moment, they finally suggested, Taoist master, maybe you should deduce it. They only dared to ask due to Taoist master Yuansu's mild temperament. Taoist master Yuansu merely shrugged and replied, He is cautious, leaving no traces in the great void, and his cultivation is high. I possess the divine abilities of a Purple Mansion Realm cultivator, not the fate-determining power of a Maha. What could I use to deduce? He shook his head and joked, If he is dead and his divine abilities dissipate, I might be able to deduce something. Kaijian and Ning Hijing exchanged glances, clearly not amused. Taoist master Yuansu shrugged, reached out to trace the air in front of him, and stepped into the great void, his voice still echoing in their ears. He most likely got caught up in something while rescuing Xiao Shooting in the Eastern Sea. I will go check it out. Lu Jiangxian's divine sense was even more formidable than expected, forcefully entering Kai Buzi's sea of consciousness and disorienting his soul. Kai Buzi, being from an immortal sect with considerable experience, quickly realized he was facing a highly skilled cultivator. Activating a secret technique, he gathered his spiritual sense and called out, I am a disciple under the pristine water origin talisman True Monarch. I do not know which senior is before me, but if I have offended you, please forgive me. Despite being several hundred years old and seasoned, Kai Buzi was not intimidated by Lu Jiangxian's overwhelming presence. He observed closely and discerned that Lu Jiangxian was all bluster. If it were not for his high intrinsic rank, Kai Buzi would not have felt threatened. He spoke politely while thinking to himself, This old man appears to be an ancient cultivator who has fallen on hard times. If I could kill him, the rewards would definitely elevate me to greatness. Lu Jiangxian, however, remained silent, his divine sense ruthlessly overwhelming Kai Buzi. Although Kai Buzi's spiritual sense was not as strong, he had a large quantity of it, and he resisted stubbornly, continuing to shout out, May I know which metallic essence the senior cultivate? No matter how Kai Buzi inquired, Lu Jiangxian did not respond, relentlessly pursuing him. Kai Buzi had not anticipated that Lu Zhongxian's divine sense would be so unyielding, causing him to retreat repeatedly. After about an incense stick's time, Kai Buzi began to grow anxious. "Senior, be cautious. I am known to the true monarch, and if something happens to me, it will surely alarm him." Ignoring him, Lu Zhongxian continued his aggressive assault, finally grabbing him tightly as he sighed with relief. If this were within the world of the mirror, eliminating him would be a matter of a single thought. But here in his Shenyang mansion, it took so much effort. Seeing Kai Buzi still struggling, Lu Zhongxian made up his mind. Using the backlash from the Yin Quarter's Nine Hills Heart questioning spell, he began to read Kai Buzi's memories. Chapter 406, Water Mansion Immortal Official II. Just as he had this thought, Lu Zhongxian felt uneasy, and a clear pool appeared hazily before his eyes, startling him. Of course, there is still the pristine water. He was in Kai Buzi's sea of consciousness, not within his own mirror world. Lu Zhongxian knew that reading Kai Buzi's memories would alert the true monarch of the Azure Pond sect. I can't kill him. Since I can't erase his memories, I'll plant a shamanic spell in his spiritual sense. Lu Zhongxian waved his hand, condensing the dense moonlight and setting up a backlash monitoring spell. He reluctantly extracted a string of talisman chi. I'll tie you to my boat so you can't go running to pristine water to tattle. After setting up several layers of precautions to ensure that Kai Buzi would be utterly destroyed if the spell activated, Lu Zhongxian had a sudden inspiration. He used his divine sense to bring forth an object. This was a piece extracted from the soul of Maha Jinlian, purified numerous times by Lu Zhongxian's moonlight. It was now blank and shining white. A bold idea arose in Lu Zhongxian's mind, almost making him quiver with excitement. Why not replace him with a substitute? Make him one of my own. After careful consideration, Lu Zhongxian shook his head. Kai Buzi, after all, was associated with pristine water. If the sect discovered something was amiss upon his return, it would spell disaster for Lu Zhongxian. Then a compromise create a friend out of him. He took the glowing orb and embedded it with fabricated memories, including various exalted immortals and immortal courts from past lives, checking everything thoroughly. Satisfied with his work, he also altered the shamanic spell in Kai Buzi's Shenyang mansion, linking it to the soul fragment of Maha Jinlian. After reviewing it, he was extremely pleased with his handiwork. It's flawless. On Mount Lijing, the continuous sound of blood tears falling from Kai Buzi's body had stopped, leaving an eerie silence that made even the faintest sound audible. Taoist Master Buzi pushed open the door and stumbled forward, a strange smile on his face. He leaned against the doorframe, taking another step out. Buzi, Li Yuanjiao's mind was racing with alarm bells. The Taoist master in green robes stepped forward, his eyes closed, the blood tears having ceased. Buzi then exhaled deeply, stiffly turning his head toward the members of the Li family. Li Yuanjiao felt his legs go numb and a chill run down his spine, raising the hair on the back of his neck. At that moment, Buzi's face was divided. One side was clean and sharp-featured, while the other side was distorted and covered in fine white fur with the muscles twitching slightly. His ears were elongated and drooped downward. His eyelids moved slightly, and he slowly opened his eyes, revealing empty black sockets with bulging green veins around them, the red-purple eyelids struggling to open. Greetings, Taoist Master. Li Yuanjiao's hoarse voice echoed in the courtyard. Buzi stared blankly at him for several breaths before speaking. What Taoist Master? I am an immortal official under the command of the immortal lord at the water mansion of Dangjiang Creek. What era is this? Where is the immortal court? Which is the nearest water mansion? Buzi took a moment to examine his body before exclaiming, after waiting so long to obtain a purple mansion realm body, why is it still a damn devil cultivator? How can devil cultivators run rampant in broad daylight in this era? The Li family stared at him, dumbfounded. Buzi looked at them impatiently and asked, are you recipients of the talisman? Which sect do you belong to? Li Yuanjia was still processing Buzi's words when Buzi suddenly stepped back, muttering, no, I need to find a water mansion and reclaim my immortal position. He shouted, you little yellow hats, quickly open this broken formation before I break it with a single palm, making you cry all over the place. Li Yuanjia, observing Buzi's behavior, felt a sudden jolt of fear in his heart as his mind raced with thoughts. Could it be that Kai Buzi has been possessed by some being with metallic essence? This entity keeps talking about a water mansion. Who knows how ancient it is? No wonder Kai Buzi looks so disheveled. Why isn't this being using the Great Void to travel? Since Kai Buzi was possessed, Li Yuanjia wanted this disaster to leave as soon as possible. He quickly deactivated the formation, revealing the dark night sky. Good, you little yellow hats are sensible. The metallic essence spirit was overjoyed and flew away like a shooting star, leaving a loud laugh behind. Visit my water mansion of Dangjiang Creek another day, and I will surely reward you with merit. Kai Buzi then left the Li family, flying south. As Lu Zhongxian's residual power waned, his expression grew increasingly bizarre. He suddenly stopped, shouting aloud, "What metallic essence fiend is this?" As soon as he spoke, he became furious and slapped himself on the face with incredible force, shouting, "Audacious! The Taoist lord is an immortal official of the water mansion of Dangjiang Creek, not some fiend." Kai Buzi was shocked, raising his hand to press against his Shenyang mansion. Halfway through the motion, his hand stopped in midair, as if struggling against an invisible force. Kai Buzi warned, "I am a disciple under the pristine water true monarch, you fiend. Stop this, I will find you a good body. Body, I want yours." The sole remnant left by Lu Zhongxian, infused with Maha Jinlian's personality, was chaotic and unruly, spewing profanities endlessly. But Kai Buzi ignored him, focusing on controlling his hand toward his Shenyang mansion. As the original owner of the body and a Purple Mansion realm cultivator, he was slowly gaining the upper hand. Seeing itself losing, the immortal official laughed coldly, and a bright spell mark rose within Kai Buzi's soul. "Try moving again. I'll detonate this spell and escape with metallic essence, then I'll see what you can do." Kai Buzi looked down in disbelief, muttering, "How is this possible? What's impossible? What did you think I was doing when I took control of your body earlier? You can try, see if you can exterminate me faster than I can detonate this formation." The immortal official, thinking it was a remnant of metallic essence, felt triumphant, no longer controlling Kai Buzi, allowing him to land by a stream. It continued, "I've waited in that yellow hat's mind for decades, finally using that supreme yin moonlight to lure you. A pity that you're a devil cultivator. Why didn't you hide properly instead of wandering around seeking death? I won't hold it against you devil cultivators as long as you take me to a water mansion and send me to the immortal court. Maybe I'll even petition the immortal court to give you a chance at survival." Kai Buzi suddenly laughed maniacally, angered. He immersed his spiritual sense into his Shenyang mansion, cursing at the white glowing circle. "What nonsense! What immortal court! What water mansion! You are full of ancient, unheard-of nonsense. What kind of era is this? Stupid fool." He cursed angrily, then suddenly paused, greed rising in his heart. Before him, several objects that were neither talismans nor seals floated within the glowing circle, glowing dully. A sweet fragrance of fate, blood, qi, and incense filled the air. What is this? Chapter 407, Departure I. The object, neither talisman nor seal, flipped and hovered slightly before condensing into a small bluish-gray orb that emitted flashes of mana light. It was easy to tell at first glance that it was no mundane artifact. It was the very treasure Li Yuanjiao remembered his family had discovered in a cave dwelling. "I see. This was that person's last resort." Kai Buzi recognized it instantly. After observing it briefly, he took a moment to chastise himself for his earlier greed. Who would have guessed that the supreme yin moonlight was a lure set by that old schemer? Suppressing his greed, Kai Buzi thought to himself, "This old thing is probably an ancient monster by now. I shouldn't rush things and coax out his secrets first. Maybe within them lies my opportunity to form a core and acquire my own essence." The shamanic spell was still rooted deep within his soul, yet Kai Buzi felt no fear as he focused on the talisman qi. It's a mere shamanic spell. In 83 years, when the true monarch emerges from his seclusion, this spell can be dispelled easily. But securing that ancient relic is truly a treasure. I must secure it before meeting the true monarch. While he contemplated his next move, the Water Mansion immortal official suddenly grew vigilant and snapped. "What concern is it of yours? This is the legacy of the immortal position bestowed by the immortal court. It's mine alone to claim. Don't even think about it." However, Kai Buzi was not really listening to him. He was fixated on the promise hidden within his words, a legacy of an immortal position, a chance at the Tao embryo. Breathing heavily, Kai Buzi's thoughts raced with possibilities. Could it be true? Does this ancient being truly believe in the immortal court? If so, how can I ensure my safety against pristine water? The true monarch is ruthless. Once he learns of this, the Azure Pond sect won't protect me. It could mean more than just my demise. Kai Buzi was adept at quick thinking. Within moments, he had weighed all possible outcomes. In this case, it's better to vanish overseas and plot quietly in secret to claim this legacy than to be silenced or killed. He rubbed his tired eyes, only then noticing his horrible state. He organized his thoughts. "I investigated the Moongaze Lake, searched the soul of a Li family member, and fell into the trap of this old thing." His divine abilities were impaired, and chaotic moonlight energy surged through his body, a direct consequence of his daring gaze upon the immortal position. A decade or so of recovery should suffice. Despite the potential risks, Kai Buzi felt indifferent. Encountering such ancient relics was worth any personal loss, especially since the power of the immortal position seemed extraordinary at first encounter. "First, I need to restore my eyes." Rolling up his sleeves, Kai Buzi began scooping up some river mud, deftly molding it into 2 thumb-sized balls which he then inserted into his empty eye sockets. The 2 mud balls fitted into his sockets nicely. Closing his eyes, he performed a hand seal and cast a divine ability. A burst of colorful light emerged, and when he opened his eyes again, the mud balls had become real eyeballs that could move around. This will suffice for now. I must have damaged my eyes by gazing directly at that immortal position. I'll craft proper replacements once I return to my sect for some blood chi. Now with his new eyes, Kai Buzi's vision had become clearer, and his mind turned sharper. Although he had tasted the formidable power of the ancient being when he assaulted his sea of consciousness, Kai Buzi remained skeptical. Could the Dao embryo legacy really be so easily obtained? I could not even scan it with my spiritual sense, who knows what it is. If pristine water believes this, I'll be as good as dead. As this thought crossed his mind, Kai Buzi's expression hardened as if recalling something. Old thing, is the Li family even aware of your existence? He asked. I've hidden in their house for decades, but never spoken to any of them and have long erased their memories, the Water Mansion immortal official replied nonchalantly. The immortal official's tone was dismissive, but for Kai Buzi, it was a matter concerning his own safety. He whispered fiercely, I'll go silence them and reclaim the divine ability that I've leaked while I'm at it. Although Azure Pond and Mount Dali had promised not to perform blood sacrifice in the northern foothills, there was no problem in killing a few mortals. As for the divine power, it was referring to the scattered blood beads on the ground. Kai Buzi was not after those spirit items, knowing they would soon dissipate. However, he feared they might be exploited by others. He opened the void, only to be stopped by the immortal official's harsh admonition. How dare you commit such acts that defy the natural order? His words carried weight, and after counting silently to 4, Kai Buzi sighed deeply and reluctantly halted, replying coldly, What an old-fashioned man you are. We who possess divine abilities are not the same as those mere mortals and lowly cultivators. How absurd it is for us to be bound by the same moral constraints fabricated by the mundane world. The immortal official snorted coldly and was about to respond when Kai Buzi cut in sharply. Let me ask you this, old thing. When the heavens and the earth were first formed, were there any morals, laws, or honor when there was nothing but the vast land? Caught off guard, the immortal official responded, there were none. Kai Buzi smiled coldly and then continued, in the earliest days of humanity, those who emerged first were revered, while those who followed were deemed lesser. The powerful became emperors, the meek their slaves. The so-called morality was nothing more than a set of rules crafted by the revered to control the lesser, by emperors to dominate their subjects, and by elders to discipline the young. He continued, when the elders died and the young became wiser and ascended to power, they preserved the established order. Over time, it morphed into a system of superiority and inferiority, morality and etiquette. Morality and laws are mere constructs. They exist if you believe in them and vanish if you don't. Now, as a revered figure with divine abilities, I can set my own rules. Why should I bow to the whims of those long gone? He challenged. The immortal official retorted in anger, slaughtering the innocent and disrupting the peace of heaven. Do you not fear the repercussions of karma? Kai Buzi scoffed and muttered darkly, Karma, it is but a toy in the hands of the Mahas, and the people are mere livestock under my divine abilities. How adorable do you think these creatures are? They despise me, yet they would eagerly take my place. With a sinister smile, he added, As for the repercussions, it's nothing more than a feeble cry. Pitiful delusion. Despite the distance, Kai Buzi's location was still within the perception of Lu Jiangxian's divine sense. With the help of the shamanic spell in his soul and his own divine sense, Lu Jiangxian could read every thought in his mind. His is the only thing I can do since Kai Buzi's visit was too abrupt. With talisman chi that could elude even a purple mansion realm cultivator, Lu Jiangxian tried to bluff in a way that would entice a potential golden core realm cultivator. As long as Kai Buzi did not dare to gamble with pristine water's vision, it was naturally impossible for him to report anything. The soul of the immortal official, though under Lu Jiangxian's influence, retained considerable autonomy. Armed with complete knowledge of immortal court systems from his past life and the sacrificial rituals methods instructions in the mirror, he had managed to deceive Kai Buzi for the time being. If contradictions arose, the immortal official would assume his fragmented memories were to blame, rather than suspect that his soul had been fabricated by another. As long as Kai Buzi refrained from probing into the pristine water, the ever-watchful soul would ensure any slip led swiftly to his demise, which was far preferable to falling at Moongaze Lake. Once I finish using this man, and ensure they won't be able to track me down, things will be easier. Lu Jiangxian relaxed, a hint of anticipation coloring his face. Chapter 408, Departure II. The immortal official's inquiry into today's events will certainly extend to the cultivation method and other secret techniques of the Azure Pond. He might even uncover aspects only accessible to those of the Purple Mansion realm. Once Kai Buzi ventures to Moongaze Lake, I'll connect to his soul and extract his memories. Surveying the area around Moongaze Lake with his divine sense, Lu Jiangxian sifted through the family treasuries. While there was nothing new, the Ding family had a new set of legacies that included a grade 2 cultivation method of little significance. Nevertheless, Lu Jiangxian noted down the cultivation technique before leisurely returning to the mirror. Kai Buzi's blood beads were still rolling on the ground. These could be useful. Although the beads contained only a modest amount of Kai Buzi's divine abilities, the shamanic path excelled in harnessing Dharma blood. The abundant quantity was more than sufficient for Lu Jiangxian's purposes. Just a bit more persuasion is needed for the Li family to surrender them to me. Aside from divine sense and the supreme yin moonlight, the mirror's ability to interact with the outside world was limited. Unless someone triggered the mirror's fate, it was impossible for it to move, let alone pull someone into the realm within it. Lu Jiangxian, though desiring the blood beads, had to wait for the Li family to offer them to him. Li Yunjiao and the others watched Kai Buzi ride the wind and disappear into the distance, exchanging surprised glances. An official from the Dangjiang Creek Water Mansion, an immortal mansion. It must be the reincarnation of some metallic essence, speculated another. The Li family was more knowledgeable now. Li Yuanping nodded in agreement. Brother is right, but considering what we've seen at home, how could it manifest a metallic essence? They stopped abruptly, exchanging knowing looks with each other before swiftly changing the subject. The one possessing the Taoist master's body seems reasonable enough, but who knows what he might do next. Li Xuanxuan, noticeably more relaxed, wiped the sweat from his brow and added softly, I'm also unsure if this Taoist master will regain consciousness and seek revenge. We must prepare for all possibilities. Turning to Li Yunjiao, he asked, what do you think about relocating overseas? Li Yunjiao shook his head slowly and replied, we would need at least 2 family members at the Foundation establishment realm to consider establishing a branch overseas. Currently sending anyone would be futile, they'd merely be marching to their demise. He paused, then proposed, why don't we discreetly send Ziming to the Zhao family to consult with Ancestor Yuanci? We could have Ziming fostered under his tutelage in the guise of practicing alchemy. Li Yunjiao gradually regained his composure and continued elaborating. Ancestor Yuanci is a warm and generous elder. Under his guidance, Ziming will surely thrive, learning much more than he would at home. Moreover, should disaster befall the Li family and we face annihilation, the Purple Mansion would surely attempt to erase us. Without divine abilities, fleeing would be futile. Zhao Shooting, who has sheltered Chen Taojing, a suspected remnant of the immortal sect, will likely use his divine abilities to conceal Ziming's whereabouts as well, ensuring our family's legacy endures, he added. Li Xuanxuan sighed as he sat down. Ancestor Yuanci has already done much for our family. The debt of gratitude we owe is immense, and I would not involve him further unless absolutely necessary. Li Yuanping, who had been listening quietly, nodded slightly, then cupped his fist and excused himself. I will make the necessary arrangements. Li Xuanxuan gave him a nod, then turned back to Li Yunjiao. In these perilous times, perhaps you should take the mirror, seal the ancestral hall, and retreat to Mount Wudu for safety. Li Yunjiao performed a hand seal, then carefully collected the red beads from the ground and placed them in a jade box. Once done, he picked up one and examined it in the moonlight. The bead's radiant red hue, shadowed by a faint gray mist, shone particularly brightly. Staring at it for an extended period stirred a deep-seated sense of unease and irritability within him, feelings that were difficult to put into words. As soon as he secured the beads, Li Yunjiao felt the talisman seed within him stir and was immediately delighted. Oh, they can be used as an offering in the sacrificial ritual. I knew these were good stuff. This is a serious matter. We must consult the mirror, he replied to Li Xuanxuan. With that, he activated the complex formation, entered the ancestral hall, and pushed open the heavy stone door. He kneeled and bowed deeply before the mirror. I, Li Yunjiao, the disciple of the Li family that is beset by calamity and faces great peril, respectfully request the profound light to protect and preserve. I pray for your supreme guidance. After completing the ritual and offering deep bows, the mirror's light gradually dimmed before descending before him, indicating his prayer's success. Li Yunjiao had studied several books of prayers from the mirror, dedicating himself to understanding these mystical incantations. He often wondered why the mirror required such elaborate rituals, assuming it was a reflection of its exceedingly high status. However, his recent encounter with a metallic essence claiming that he was the immortal official from the Dangjiang Creek Water Mansion governed by the immortal lord had left him deeply unsettled. Piecing together all he knew about the mirror, a startling possibility emerged. Perhaps this mirror serves a vast immortal mansion in a realm beyond our skies. Maybe it is merely a medium for communicating with this distant celestial realm. If this were truly the case, then everything made sense. Perhaps Kai Buzi had inadvertently met a specific criterion, maybe an offense against the immortal mansion, or he was destined to become a physical sacrifice, thus allowing an immortal official to descend to the mortal realm. With these thoughts unraveling in his mind, the potential of mighty forces behind the scenes slowly became apparent. Li Yunjiao dared not speak of his suspicions aloud, but held them close in his heart. Feeling a surge of excitement, he wondered, does expressing our gratitude to Supreme Yin meant we'll be able to reach the immortal mansion as long as our cultivation is high enough? Suppressing his wild speculations, Li Yunjiao carefully stored the mirror and exited the backyard. He nodded to his father and announced respectfully, I'm going to Mount Wudu to cultivate. Li Xuanxun exhaled deeply, nodding in return as he watched his son leave. He then proceeded to close up the formations, ensuring all traces were concealed within the secret chamber before leaving to meditate as well. As soon as Li Yunjiao returned to Wudu Peak, he was greeted warmly by Xiao Giluan. How was it? Li Yunjiao shook his head and replied, nothing to worry about, it was just a false alarm. He quickly changed the subject. The family plans to send Ximing to the Xiao family to study alchemy. I'll need you to make the journey as well. Understood, Xiao Giluan responded succinctly, taking to the winds without further question. Li Yunjiao felt a pang of guilt and unease in his heart. Xiao Giluan trusted him completely, yet he had to keep secrets from her. After all, having experienced it firsthand and hearing it from Li Tongya, the talisman seed could indeed protect against the Purple Mansion Realm cultivators' deceptions. Only those who received the seed could lie directly to Purple Mansion Realm cultivators without fear of detection. Xiao Giluan did not have such protection from a talisman seed, and knowing too much would probably only endanger her. Li Yunjiao paused, a sudden thought striking him. The Yu family has been too quiet. Compelled to investigate, he took out the bluish-gray mirror and soared northeast, over mountains and forests, before landing at the Yu family's cave dwelling. The highest cave, richest in spiritual qi, was heavily fortified by a grand formation. The entrance was also sealed tightly with multiple layers of spirit formations. Inside, Li Yunjiao found the cave floor littered with shiny jade fragments that were still rolling around. Blue, green, red. They scattered across the ground, reflecting off one another. The cave was also filled with various crystals from ceiling to floor, and the ground was blanketed with fine white salt. A skeleton colored like jade but broken in half lay collapsed. The upper section of the skeleton had fallen to the ground, cleanly severed, the cut so smooth and flat it seemed almost polished. Chapter 409, Settling I. Yu Xiaogui is dead. Li Yunjiao had heard many rumors and lived through the death of his family's ancestor. With a quick glance, he instantly grasped the situation at hand. The two families had a blood feud, and Li Yunjiao, feeling no sorrow, sighed in relief that the turmoil was finally settling. Fei Wangbai fell to an unknown swordsman. He fell with just a single attack. Yu Xiaogui met his end at the hands of my granduncle, armed with only a Husheng fruit and his Qingche sword. It took just a single strike too. The three Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators of the lake are now all dead. The Azure Pond sect would not ease its grip on prestigious clans just because their Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators had fallen. The tributes that were due would still be demanded under the guise of honoring past legacies. These families would still be labeled a prestigious clan for another 50 years so that the sect could drain all their remaining resources before discarding them for good. Should a few more Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators emerge in the Li family or annex additional territories, their required tributes would undoubtedly increase, mirroring the substantial offerings made by the Yuan family, who paid far more than the Li family. The scene of Yu Xiaogui's death was strikingly magnificent, with jade scattered all across the ground. Li Yunjiao observed in silence, then left the cave to survey the Yu family's territory for a while. Under the Yu family's governance, conditions had significantly improved over the years. Now, at least, their subjects led decent lives. Despite Yu Mugao's sinister and brutal nature, his bold reforms to the clan system, and his elevation of commoners not born into the family all led to positive progress. Understanding the situation, Li Yunjiao put away the mirror. As the familiar stone wall of his cave dwelling came back into view, he murmured, Kai Buzi's visit has indeed unsettled my family. The long-term consequences of it are still unclear. The day's events had caused frustration to accumulate within him. Li Yunjiao took the Qingche sword from its place and started practicing his sword techniques. It was not until he had practiced for half the day that he felt the mounting pressures begin to dissipate, and he sensed a slight improvement in his skills. Sitting cross-legged, he began to clean the sword. At that moment, a man in brown robes and a jade crown approached, his face breaking into a broad, respectful smile. Clan brother, good news. It was none other than Shamali. Despite being older than Li Yunjiao, he had learned the ways of the world and preferred addressing Li Yunjiao as his clan brother with familiarity. Clan brother, there's good news from Lijing. Taoist master shooting has appeared in Mount Yu and vanquished dozens of devil cultivators lurking over there. He has already returned to Xianyu Peak. The devil cultivators in the Xiao family's territory have scattered, fleeing in all directions. Xiao shooting has returned. Li Yunjiao silently sighed in relief, a smile breaking across his face. With Xiao shooting in command, the Xiao family's plight will be solved. My family will be safer as well. With that in mind, he patted Shamali's shoulder and replied, "That's indeed good news. Keep watch for a while. I'll cultivate in seclusion now." Shamali then nodded and silently withdrew. As news spread, the cultivators on the mountain breathed a sigh of relief, and the crowds at the foot of the mountain rejoiced. They did not understand the intricacies of the struggle, but knew that the Zhao family backed the Li family. Hence, the return of such an important figure was naturally a cause for celebration. The generation of Yuan and Qing, who held important positions across various mountains and towns, were elated too. Having returned to Lijiang to report on their duties, they gathered in Li Yuanping's central hall to offer their congratulations. The generation of Yuan and Qing originally numbered over 10, but now 9 remained, excluding Yuan Jiao and King Hung in the mountains, and Yuanping who managed family affairs. Most of them were Li Xuanxuan's concubine-born children. There were 4 sons and 2 daughters. The eldest was 30, and the youngest just over 10, each holding a significant role within the family. 2 among them possessed spiritual orifices, though their talents paled in comparison to even Li Yuanping's and were nearly indistinguishable from mortals. Greetings, family head. This group, representing nearly half of the Li family's worldly influence, gathered in the hall. Li Yuanping greeted them with a warm smile and helped his siblings to their feet. Their unruliness during Li Yunxiu's reign had completely vanished. Everyone had a warm smile on their face and was devoted to the family. It was not that Li Yuanping was better at leading the family than Li Yunxiu. It was rather because his siblings had married, settled down, and started families of their own. The distinction between those with spiritual orifices and ordinary mortals was profound. While it was challenging to produce heirs with such rare traits, these siblings endeavored to conceive them, aiming to nurture children as remarkable as their father, Li Xuanxuan. According to the Li family's rules, concubine-born children from the major sect identified with spiritual orifices by the age of 6 could be sent to the mountains for training. With their precious children cultivating on the mountain, the parents naturally shifted their allegiances to become staunch supporters of the main lineage. This was a strategy Li Yuanping understood well. By boldly promoting key positions, he eased his own burdens considerably. Over the years, his warm relationships with his brothers had greatly strengthened their bonds. With a laugh, he chirped, "Although this is good news, all of you shouldn't have gone out of your way to make this trip." After exchanging pleasantries, the group pushed forward a man with a broad, round face, the eldest son born to Li Xuanxuan from a concubine. After some extended conversation, one of them said, "There are still untapped talents within our family, talents that have been overlooked and underutilized by the clan. We've come to bring them to your attention, family head." Oh, Li Yuanping's interest was instantly piqued. The man continued, "These 2 brothers are the sons of Master, and they are also part of the Li family." He motioned, and 2 teenagers, about 13 or 14 years old, stepped forward. Dressed in cloaks with their hair neatly tied back, they wore gold bracelets on their wrists and had round faces with dark eyes. Both bowed formally as they greeted him respectfully. "And Siwei greets the family head. And Siming greets the family head." They were the only children of Njayan and Li Feiruo. The siblings both possessed spiritual orifices and had attained the 4th stage of the embryonic breathing realm by the ages of 13 and 14. However, their aura seemed unsteady, indicating they had only recently achieved this breakthrough. Nevertheless, their progress still astounded everyone. Li Yuanping studied them intently and suddenly exclaimed in surprise, "Both of you are cultivating the guardian of the courtly path technique." Both brothers nodded, prompting Li Yuanping to secretly sigh in relief. No wonder they've advanced so quickly. The guardian of the courtly path is known for accelerating progress in the embryonic breathing realm while slowing qi cultivation, but it's impressive nonetheless. Although they can't match Njingaming's progress at 14, they're still better than many of our external cultivators. Not just the Chen clan, but their speed also matched even those in my family who have received a talisman seed. He shook his head and stated firmly, "Given your current level of cultivation, I don't have any responsibilities for you." The other siblings and then brothers were dismayed upon hearing Li Yuanping's statement. Li Yuanping, however, continued, "I'll write a letter to find a cave dwelling on Mount Huzhong for you 2 to focus on your cultivation, so you can swiftly achieve the qi cultivation realm. The clan will have significant duties for you by then." "Yes." The brothers readily responded, clearly elated upon hearing this. Li Yuanping immediately wrote the letter. Then brothers accepted it and respectfully withdrew. Chapter 410, Settling II. Meanwhile at the Zhao residence. Zhao shooting broke through the void and descended lightly atop Xianyu Peak. The water in the cold pool was crystal clear and icy as usual. Sitting down, he gazed at a mountain rock across the bank, lost in thought. Battles of wit had left him exhausted. As Zhao shooting settled on the rock, he was suddenly reminded of his dead elder brother, Zhao Chuchu. The brother, with whom he had discussed current events and changes in the world by that pool for years, had been consumed by him and transformed into one of his half-realized divine abilities. Zhao Shooting knew in his heart that even if he had not consumed Zhao Chuchu, his brother's days were numbered due to his old age. Zhao Xianyu had orchestrated everything masterfully, making the best use of every resource. There's no turning back. Devil cultivators had wreaked havoc, and Zhao Shooting ensured that those of the Qi cultivation and embryonic breathing realms on Mount Yu Qi met their ends in both miserable and humiliating ways. Despite his efforts, he could not pursue the demon cultivators who had fled to the Purple Smoke Gate for revenge. Instead, he was left to vent his frustration by eliminating just a few of their masses. The land of Jiangnan was exceptionally fertile with deep earth veins enriching it. Planting a few seedlings guaranteed a bountiful harvest the next year. Although tens of thousands had perished on Mount Yu, the population would flourish again within a few generations, much like crops. Therefore, the losses sustained by the Zhao family were relatively minor. Despite his many successful schemes over the years to turn small investments into large profits, the old man's face remained gloomy. He could never quite satisfy his ambitions. Silently, he picked up his white jade fishing rod and began to fish. After a long while, a messenger arrived, announcing that Zhao Gidu, the family head, had come to pay his respects to the old ancestor. Zhao Shooting hummed in acknowledgement. Zhao Gidu quickly ascended the mountain path, dressed in casual clothes. With a happy look on his face, he said respectfully, "Junior Gidu greets the Taoist master." Zhao Shooting gave him a brief glance and asked, "Kai Buzi looked for you." Zhao Gidu bowed and replied, "With the protection of the Dharma artifact from the old ancestor, I didn't fail too badly before the Taoist master of Azure Pond. However, I was still influenced by his divine ability. I also asked Gilwen regarding the Purple Mansion Realm cultivator of the Li family." Zhao Shooting shook his head gently and replied, "That's fine. Kai Buzi has since returned to the Azure Pond sect after visiting Moongaze Lake. We don't know if he was injured, but he had likely retreated hastily after being warned by the Purple Mansion Realm cultivator of the Li family." Zhao Gidu nodded thoughtfully, then asked, "What of Mount Dali's demon den?" Zhao Shooting remained silent for a moment before responding evasively, "Send someone to the South Sea to fetch Zhao Yuanci, so Gilwen need not wait any longer." "Understood." Zhao Gidu replied and respectfully withdrew. Zhao Gilwen had stayed with the Zhao family at the foot of Xianyu Peak for just over half a month, reconnecting with old acquaintances to gather information about Mount Yu. Her father, learning it involved the Zhao and Li clans, adamantly refused to meet with Li Qingxiao. Yet with dozens of spirit stones presented, the door that was once closed suddenly opened, transforming formal strangers into eagerly welcomed guests. Zhao Gilwen was not surprised by his father's greed and spitefulness. It seemed that with the right incentive, particularly an expensive gift and Zhao Gidu's tacit approval, a door once closed could indeed be opened. With Zhao Gidu's clandestine support, arrangements concerning Mount Yu proceeded smoothly, and Xianyu Peak even dispatched a few guest cultivators to stabilize the situation. Good news continued to arrive. While Zhao Gilwen wondered how much longer she would have to wait for Zhao Yuanci to return to Xianyu Peak, she received news of his imminent return. Perhaps Zhao Shooting's presence allowed for the reallocation of resources, facilitating Zhao Yuanci's reassignment from the South Sea. Zhao Gilwen quickly sought an audience with Zhao Yuanci, who readily accepted. Subsequently, Zhao Gilwen entrusted an alchemy furnace to Li Ziming, asking him to remain with the Zhao family, then bade farewell and departed. Upon her return to Li residence, she learned that Li Yunjiao and Li Qinghang, the Li family's main pillars, were cultivating in seclusion. Understanding that the family's situation had stabilized, she was finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. 2 years swiftly passed. Li Yunjiao had been waiting for news from the Azure Pond sect, but heard nothing, nor did their Purple Mansion Realm cultivator appear in the sky as he feared. Day and night, he wondered if the immortal official managed to deceive the sect. With no catastrophic developments, he finally felt a measure of relief. The devil plague had also diminished, no longer presenting the collective threat it once did while it was ravaging several prefectures. Now the scattered devil cultivators spread malevolence throughout the Yue, Wu, and Su states, leading to a steady stream of smaller, yet more frequent disasters. During this period, some devil cultivators infiltrated the Li family's territory. Thanks to the family's thorough and detailed household registration system, these invaders were quickly discovered after harming just 1 or 2 people. These embryonic breathing realm devil cultivators proved not particularly formidable and were easy to eliminate. The Li family's sacrificial ritual that took place every 5 years was approaching once again. With Kai Buzi's blood beads, the preparations this time were even more elaborate. Access to Mount Dali was heavily restricted. Li Qinghang, having emerged from her seclusion after advancing to the 6th heavenly layer of the Qi cultivation realm, was tasked with the preparations of this ritual. The Li family now boasted a plentiful number of Qi cultivators. However, due to the secretive nature of their sacrificial ritual, seeking external assistance would necessitate fabricating an elaborate tale. Therefore, the main family opted to undertake the task themselves, starting with a search around Moongaze Lake. The bottom of Moongaze Lake shimmered. Dark waters flowed, swirling up clouds of gray silt. Li Qingheng and Li Yunjiao stood in the water, their mana light deliberately dimmed to blend with the underwater shadows, waiting patiently. Li Qingheng's jade armor, an heirloom of the family, was enchanted with a water avoidance spell, providing her comfort in the water. Meanwhile, Li Yunjiao's mastery of the River One Qi technique enabled him to navigate the water as naturally as a fish. Moongaze Lake was deep and teeming with demonic creatures that had already reached the Foundation establishment realm. After 2 months of meticulous searching, the pair finally encountered a catfish demon of no significant background. Glug, glug. As the distant waters rushed in, Li Yunjiao and Li Qingheng exchanged a knowing nod. Suddenly, they spotted a beast swimming swiftly through the dark waters, as large as a hut, with its long whiskers flinging about. It opened its massive mouth to gulp water, swallowing several times before spitting out bone fragments. Large, flat forehead, sticky, slippery saliva. It's definitely a catfish demon. This catfish demon, only at the 4th heavenly layer of the Qi cultivation realm and with a poor bloodline, lacked significant legacy and intelligence. However, it excelled in water control and swam swiftly. Once startled, it could dart away instantly, making it nearly impossible for the duo to catch up to it underwater. Beneath the lake, demonic creatures of the Foundation establishment realm lurked, and this particular catfish demon, with its low intelligence, roamed the waters haphazardly. Should Li Yunjiao and Li Qingheng inadvertently stray into the territory of another demon general, it could spell trouble for both of them. Li Yunjiao racked his brain for a while before deciding to rent a Qi cultivation realm water-aligned formation plate known as the Muddy Water Talisman flowing formation from the Yuan family. While the catfish demon foraged, he set up the formation in its lair and waited. As the catfish demon blundered forward, Li Yunjiao activated the formation. A blue light rippled open instantly, and a greenish-blue barrier emerged from the lakebed, seamlessly merging with the water, isolating the area completely. Startled, the catfish swiftly turned and shot out like an arrow, only to collide with the Muddy Water Talisman flowing formation and causing the entire formation to shake slightly. Since the catfish demon's skin was thick, it showed no reaction of pain. After a moment's pause, it attempted to flee again in a different direction. "It's done," exclaimed Li Yunjiao. This demon, inexperienced in battles with cultivators and unfamiliar with formations, panicked. At that moment, Li Yunjiao drew his sword and advanced. Buzz! His bright white sword Qi sliced through the lake, leaving 2 long waves in its wake. The catfish demon responded by expelling water from its mouth, which transformed into multi-layered shields. This spell was primitive, typical of a wild demonic creature with scant mana. The arc from Li Yunjiao's celestial moon slash technique cut through the water shields and pierced the catfish demon's body, creating a small gash. Despite its large size and tough scales which had mucus and mana protection, the sword arc managed to still pierce through and damage the demon's scales and bones. Writhing in pain, the catfish rolled on the lakebed. As Li Yunjiao raised his sword to strike again, Li Qingheng quickly interjected, "Brother, your sword Qi is too powerful. I fear you might accidentally kill this demon. My thunder techniques are better suited for capturing it alive. Shall I take over?" Chapter 411, Engraved Stone Eye. "Fine," Li Yunjiao said as he smiled and nodded, then stepped to the side. Li Qingheng had been cultivating in seclusion for a long time. This was an opportunity for her to stretch and loosen her muscles. Her face broke into a grin as she advanced, drawing her weapon. With practiced grace, she spun the spear that was radiating with a purple glow. Although she had fought many battles in the lake, she did not immediately unleash her thunder. Instead, she slowly approached the catfish demon. Thunder technique worked differently compared to sword Qi, which was the sharp Qi derived from the metal element. Sword Qi harmonized well with water, so it could work well underwater. On the other hand, thunder techniques were characterized by attributes of thunder and fire, as well as the dynamic balance of yin and yang, where the yang manifested as lightning. Naturally, it was less effective when released in water compared to on land, yet it was still formidable enough for Li Qingheng to deal with a minor demon. Li Qingheng activated the river crossing torrential step, then lunged, targeting the demon's underbelly with her spear. The white iris spear was deadly, so she would not use it to deal with a mid-stage Qi cultivation realm demon. The Dharma weapon in her hand was instead a low-grade Qi cultivation realm spear. Poof! Li Yunjiao had barely registered a tingling sensation on his face when a bright light suddenly flashed, followed by the muffled sounds of an explosion. Water churned into froth and mud. The catfish demon, caught off guard, winced and recoiled. The spell it had been gathering in its mouth dispersed as it staggered backward, its whiskers stretched taut, emitting a piercing screech. Li Qingheng pressed on now that she had gained her advantage. Her spear movements were swift and precise, killing the fish and prawns in the water and causing them to surface. The catfish demon, clearly outmatched, turned in panic and fled. Li Yunjiao, observing the scene before him, could not help but express his admiration. Thunder techniques are truly impressive. It's rare in Jiangnan. If it didn't shorten lifespans and harm the body, it would have been the most formidable offensive technique in our family, he remarked. If their family had not acquired the Golden Palace Radiant Origin manual recently, nothing could truly rival this Purple Thunder secret origin technique. Though the former was a grade 4 technique, brilliant and powerful as the sun, it might still fall short of the intimidating power of the Thunder technique, which could overwhelm both the enemy and the wielder alike. With that in mind, Li Yunjiao recalled something else. Zicheng has made remarkable strides in the past few years. He celebrated his 26th birthday just a few days ago with a breakthrough to the 5th stage of the embryonic breathing realm. Meanwhile, Uncle Dong hasn't returned from the Western Desert. Chen Dong was expected to return in a year or two, and likely be around when Li Zicheng entered the Qi cultivation realm. However, Ximing, who was studying alchemy with the Xiao family, and Zijin, who was training on Mike Peak, showed remarkable talent. They were already close to reaching Li Zicheng's level. Ximing and Zijin have already reached the 4th stage of the embryonic breathing realm at just 14 and 15. It seems likely they'll advance to the Qi cultivation realm within the next 5 to 7 years. If the Golden Yang Radiant Origin is bestowed upon Zicheng, then at least one of them won't be able to receive this spiritual Qi in time for their breakthrough. With the devil plague rampant across the land and communication from the west sporadic, gathering a portion of the Golden Yang Radiant Origin spiritual Qi within the next 7 years posed a significant challenge to them. I better discuss this with Zicheng once I return. By the time he regained his composure, Li Qinghang was already returning, dragging along a large catfish behind her. The fish's body, marked with patches of black and white, was now rigid with its cultivation sealed. Foam bubbled from its gaping mouth. This demonic creature, struck by lightning and slightly charred, had regurgitated all sorts of things: bits of fish, ducks, crabs, snakes, along with some fabric and driftwood. It also seemed like some of the fishermen on the lake had fallen prey to it before. Li Yunjiao cast a glance at it before performing a hand seal to deactivate the isolating barrier. The formation plate on the ground slowly floated up, settling gently onto his hand. This muddy water talisman flowing formation is quite useful and extremely isolating. As long as the formation plate is guarded, it can reliably trap enemies, Li Qinghang commented thoughtfully. Li Yunjiao put the plate away, then remarked, "It's a solid water-based formation, though regrettably only available for rent. Purchasing it would set us back over 100 spirit stones." Li Qinghang was in a good mood, conversing with her brother as she channeled mana to her hands to lift the catfish demon that was the size of a small hut. The two of them then flew side by side back to the mountain. Meanwhile, Li Yuanping had already finished preparing for the ceremony. Dressed in a Taoist robe, he waited with the old monkey, who was also dressed in a Taoist robe and a pair of clogs. Standing beside them was Li Ximing, who seemed to have just returned not long ago and was ready to join the family rituals. Upon seeing his elder siblings return with the demonic beast, Li Yuanping praised them and produced a wooden box from his sleeve joyfully. "Big brother, the Wanglin blossom has bloomed," he exclaimed in excitement. He opened the wooden box to reveal 3 slightly reddish spirit flowers, each delicate and soft, about the size of a palm, with slender stamens and 5 bicolored petals, red on top and white beneath. As soon as the wooden box was opened, everyone, including Li Yuanping himself, smiled at the sight of it. Li Yuanping explained, "This flower makes the heart light and joyful. Whether mortal or cultivator, unless they've formed their immortal foundation, they can't help but show a true smile." The wooden box had just been opened, but Li Yuanping and everyone else laughed muffledly, with the corners of their mouths upturned. The owner of this flower is happy, smiles when he sees it, and is very gentle. No matter whether he is a mortal or a monk, as long as he had not become an immortal, he must smile honestly. Li Yuanping finished with a warm, genuine smile. After admiring the flowers for a moment, Li Yunjiao instructed, "Give 2 of these to Ximing and have him deliver them to Ancestor Yuanci as a modest gift, a token of our gratitude for his long-standing support." After giving the instructions, Li Yunjiao rewarded the old monkey with some cultivation resources, which the monkey accepted with a grateful nod. Li Ximing then came forward. "Thank you, second uncle." Li Ximing was gentle and respectful. Having trained with the Xiao family for 2 years, Master Xiao Yuanci had taught him everything he knew. Li Ximing had studied numerous medicinal texts and had become proficient in gathering and identifying herbs, reflecting some of Master Xiao's refined demeanor. He had grown taller and his features had become more distinct, bearing a strong resemblance to Li Yuanping, though less delicate in appearance and not as handsome. However, his temperament compensated for his plain looks. The aura at Xianyu Peak was rich, and his cultivation had been progressing well. He was not far behind Li Zijin, who was also focused on advancing his cultivation. Li Yuanjiao noticed a hint of concern in his eyebrows and said, "If there are any difficulties, feel free to speak up." Li Ziming hesitated for a moment before gesturing to a few medicine pouches on his waist and replied, "Master Zhao gifted me an old set of medicine pouches to store spirit items. I accepted it in the end, so I fear our family is further indebted to him." Li Yuanjiao nodded in understanding. The family had already stretched its resources thin by giving Li Qingxiao 70 spirit stones. Our family currently lacks additional resources. We only have a few Dharma artifacts left in our treasury. Does Senior Yuanci have any children? What is their level of cultivation? Li Yuanjiao asked. With a look of guilt, Li Ziming answered, "The ancestors' children were not strong in their cultivation and died in a conflict. There's a descendant in their family named Zhao Gixiang, who comes from a well-off family that doesn't lack Dharma weapons nor elixirs." Li Yuanjiao sighed and gritted his teeth in frustration, mentally noting this information. "We shouldn't delay this any longer. If there's little chance of resolving this, it might be best to offer the alchemy legacy from our family." He waved dismissively and said, "Now that you're back, let's prepare for the ritual." Chapter 412, Engraved Stone II. Yi Mountain City was constructed around Mount Lingqiu, a once majestic and renowned peak. It used to blaze with flames in ancient times and produced a type of golden spirit ore mined extensively by an immortal sect known as the Southern Fire Heavenly Mansion. As a result of this, the earth veins became thinner, and the mountain eventually stopped burning. At the highest cave dwelling atop the mountain, shrouded in clouds and swirling green fog, Taoist Master Yuan Su stood, playing with a light golden jade seal. He gazed down at the grand city below him. Buzi must have lost his mind. He wanders Wu and Yue states day and night, refusing to return to the sect. Thankfully, the devil plague is progressing well. He murmured. Taoist Master Yuan Su hailed from the same era as Kai Wei. Unfortunately, he practiced a cultivation method that prematurely ended his progress, confining him to the early stages of the Purple Mansion realm. If not for the fact that it was a life-divine ability, Yuan Su might have lost all standing. Disillusioned, especially with people like Si Boxiu, he decided to choose a quieter life, hence retreating to the southern border. Yuan Su paused, sensing the surge of golden aura at the foot of the mountain. Someone's establishing a Dao foundation. "It's the engraved stone," he mumbled to himself. He calculated silently. The one from Golden Tang Gate had not moved in ages, but he still lived. If memory served, his divine ability was incomplete. Sidu Hu practices the engraved stone, but that fool isn't skilled in alchemy and hasn't established his Dao foundation. He's probably not destined for it. Yuan Su chuckled to himself before picking up a jade token from the desk, muttering to himself, "Li Xuanfeng." Another from the Li family. The image of a certain young man flashed through his mind. As the jade token spun in his hand, Yuan Su mused, "I owe something to the Li family, but who knows what that man thinks. Maybe Zhao shooting has already beat me to it. He probably detests the Kai family and myself as well." His other hand rose slowly, capturing a wisp of colorful light in the void. Unleashing his divine ability, he connected it across the heavens to Li Xuanfeng. Yuan Su calculated carefully again with his divine ability. It seems respect and fear prevail. Zhao shooting doesn't dare make a move. Perhaps the Li family only resents Kai Wei. Back then, no outsiders knew who took Li Qijing away. When Yuan Su was forced to carry out this task, he was cautious enough to veil his face. In terms of prudence, only Zhao shooting can match me, he thought smugly. Since the Li family bore no malice toward him, Yuan Su decided to let the matter rest. With a flick of his fingers, he sent the jade token soaring like a shooting star, landing before a specific cave dwelling at the mountain's base. "Damn it," Taoist Master Yuan Su cursed as he reattached the jade seal to his waist. He settled back on the rock and muttered, "With Kai Wei dead, Yi Mountain City is mine. Who cares what the Kai family thinks?" In a brightly lit cave dwelling, a middle-aged man sat cross-legged beside a spirit spring, slowly exhaling. His features were sharp, and he bore the visage of someone both brave and ruthless. Yet a lingering sadness softened the harsh lines between his brows, tempering the fiery intensity within him that otherwise defined his presence. Behind him stood his golden longbow, radiating an extraordinary aura. He was none other than Li Xuanfeng. "After more than 50 years of arduous cultivation, I've finally achieved the foundation establishment realm," he declared proudly, releasing a long breath and opening his eyes slowly. A golden fire danced within their depths. His eyes brightened momentarily before fading back to their natural hue. As soon as Li Xuanfeng achieved his breakthrough, a few rays of light appeared behind him, and the name of Taoist Master Yuan Su surfaced in his thoughts. The profound pearl talisman seed within him stirred violently, emitting a white light that briefly clouded his vision before clarity returned. However, this memory swiftly vanished, leaving Li Xuanfeng unaware of the internal struggle between the two forces within his mind. My immortal foundation, the engraved stone. This immortal foundation was established with cultivation techniques from the Golden Tang Gate. Its chi was capable of breaking formations, cleaving mountains, and destroying enemies' Dharma artifacts. Specializing in precision attacks, it becomes increasingly powerful with each enemy defeated, tempered by their blood chi. Once formed, this immortal foundation could detect gold in earth veins, consume gold and jade for healing, ward off baleful chi, and render the body as impervious as metal and stone. With just a wave of his hand, he could wield sharp chi, making it difficult for spells and curses to harm him. It's an excellent tool for battle and breaking through formations, Li Xuanfeng mused as he rose to his feet. The Golden Age longbow behind him vibrated and leaped into his hand instantly. He ran his fingers over the bowstring, only to notice that the cave wall was filled with brown and golden ores that seemed like spirit items. This is the phenomenon that accompanies the establishment of my foundation, he mumbled quietly in awe. The cave dwelling was brimming with baleful chi and astral chi. Thankfully, the grand formation of the Azure Pond sect prevented the cave walls from being ravaged by the corrosive forces. With a wave of his hand, Li Xuanfeng cleared the turbulent chi in the cave dwelling. Pushing open the door, he stepped out into the night. The stars and moon were shining brightly above in the sky. The two Taoist children stationed keeping watch at the cave entrance exchanged surprised glances with each other, clearly not expecting that Li Xuanfeng, a mere clan cultivator, would succeed in establishing his foundation. They quickly kneeled before him. Greetings, old ancestor. Congratulations on establishing your immortal foundation and ascending to immortality once again. Li Xuanfeng nodded and took a step forward, only to pause and look up as a fluorescent light streaked across the night sky. Wrapped in a white glow and trailing a colorful tail 3 kai long, it slowly descended before him. Stunned, Li Xuanfeng watched as the light dimmed, transforming into a diamond-shaped jade pendant that landed at his feet. Before he could speak, a tall figure appeared beside him, clad in the all-green attire and jade boots typical of an Azure Pond sect disciple. Each item he wore glowed with the light of mana. The Azure Pond sect disciple slowly bowed, then sank to his knees gracefully and announced, "Hijing bears the imperial decree of the Taoist master." After rising from his bow, an awkward smile spread across his face as he continued, "Please accept the decree, fellow Taoist." It must be Taoist Master Yuan Su. Li Xuanfeng observed the man's reaction and understood that this was indeed an order from the esteemed Purple Mansion Realm Taoist Master. That's quick. Li Xuanfeng nodded slightly before accepting the decree with a smile. "Where is the upper sect sending this humble servant to?" he asked. "You have humor, fellow Taoist. I am Ning Hijing, Peak Master of Yuanxing Peak, stationed in Yi Mountain City." The smile on the man's face was stiff. Li Xuanfeng took a closer look at him before realization dawned upon him as well. So, it's him. This person was senior brother Ning, who led a group of Yuanwu Peak disciples back then. He was tall and quite outstanding. He had kicked Deng Yuzhai over and let him shoot the fleeing cultivator with an arrow. Taoist Master Yuan Su has personally appointed you as a general, entrusting you with a significant responsibility. Ning Hijing quickly regained his composure and spoke with forced cheerfulness. This appointment is part of your entry into Yi Mountain City's cultivation registry. You'll receive immortal stipends and can also accumulate merits to request spirit items from the sect. From now on, you and I are colleagues, he explained. Ning Hijing's eyelids twitched as incredulity flickered in his heart. He scanned Li Xuanfeng's face, pondering how this man, seemingly without notable background or talent save for his archery skills, had been chosen for promotion. How could Taoist Master Yuan Su personally promote a Foundation Establishment Realm clan cultivator when there are dozens of other cultivators of the same realm within the sect in this city? Is it out of admiration, or does he have other motives? Li Xuanfeng raised his eyebrows, clearly pleased as he responded, "Thank you to the Taoist Master." He did not dwell much on his situation. Since his arrival in Yi Mountain City, he had been resigned to a fate of death over dishonor, simply seeking to enhance his cultivation and extend his life a few more years. Now realizing he could still provide for his family in his remaining years, a thought struck him as he said with a smile, "How can I call myself your colleague? If the Peak Master has any requests, I am yours to command." Ning Hijing studied Li Xuanfeng for a moment, clearly taken aback by his humble words despite his formidable prowess with the bow. Feeling somewhat reassured now, he replied warmly, "You are too polite, fellow Taoist. After all, you were personally promoted by Taoist Master Yuan Su. There's no need for formalities with Hijing. If you have any requests, just let me know." Li Xuanfeng, though not particularly shrewd, had the wisdom of 50 years of experience. Since his family had no connections to Taoist Master Yuan Su, and suspecting that his promotion was more about Yuan Su's interests than his own merit, he said tactfully, "There's no need to trouble the Peak Master. I only wish to inquire about my duties, nothing more than to help maintain order. The southern border is currently in chaos, and I have no interest in engaging in any cunning games." Ning Hijing laughed, his demeanor turning eager as he warmly suggested, "Fellow Taoist Xuanfeng, why don't you come with me to meet all your colleagues?" Chapter 413, Brothers Bound Together. After 2 years of careful nurturing, Lu Jiangxian observed the murky chi of heaven and earth surging within the mirror, accompanied by flowing golden light and a subtly rising aura. With his divine sense, he traced the connection from the mirror to the talisman seed. Li Xuanfeng has established his foundation, he murmured. The feedback from Li Xuanfeng's breakthrough to the foundation establishment realm was even less substantial than before, only slightly strengthening his divine sense and the profound light, just like when Li Qijing first broke through to the Qi cultivation realm. The subsequent breakthroughs of other Li family members in the Qi cultivation realm gradually showed diminishing returns, generally lacking any significant qualitative change. Now that I have the means, I need to grow a Purple Mansion realm cultivator. As Lu Jiangxian's mastery of shamanic talismans grew stronger, he gradually possessed more shamanic techniques. To his dismay, all of them were of the Moonlight lineage, which drew unwanted attention and made it likely that all the Purple Mansion realm cultivators would covet any auspicious children he raised. I'll just have to wait for the Li family to offer that Purple Mansion realm cultivator's Dharma blood before I can plan further. The talisman Qi was condensed by mixing essence Qi, incense, and soul. A Purple Mansion realm cultivator's Dharma blood could not be obtained easily, and Lu Jiangxian had to rely on the ritual performed by the Li family to get it inside the mirror. It's a pity that the mirror can't house cultivators for now. Otherwise, everything would be much easier. He mused to himself for a while before a fragmented voice reached his ears. The Li family of Lijiang offers respect along with fine delicacies and wine with unwavering devotion year upon year. Observing the 3 Yuan festivals and 6 regular festivals, we maintain reverence ensuring to pay timely respects through the smoke of our offerings and the blood of our sacrifice. Swoosh. A white light pierced through the layers of gloomy clouds and mist, landing in Lu Jiangxian's hand, while a series of red beads also appeared on the table. Lu Jiangxian used his mana to secure them and first examined the talisman Qi in his hand. It's a mid-stage Qi cultivation realm demonic creature. He assessed that the talisman Qi was somewhat weak. Mount Dali was challenging to access, and most of the demonic creatures in Moongaze Lake were cunning and grouped together. Capturing this demon must have been quite a feat. It is good that I still have reserves. Lu Jiangxian had saved many excess Qi cultivation realm gray talisman Qi left over from the Li family's previous sacrifice rituals. He drew out a strand and combined it with the weak gray talisman Qi in his hand. The Li family still had plenty of talisman pills, so no further additions were necessary. His divine sense swept over the jade platform on the mountain where the Li family members who had received a talisman seed stood. Talisman Qi can assist in breakthroughs and improve cultivation progress. It is best bestowed upon a Qi cultivator. Since the generations of Zai and Yue are still embryonic breathing cultivators, it is better to save this until there is a foundation establishment realm white talisman to give out. Then again, talisman Qi could only be granted to those who had received a talisman seed. After much consideration, Lu Jiangxian's gaze settled on Li Xuanxuan, who appeared emaciated and aged after narrowly escaping death with the blood escape technique previously. 60 years of arduous effort, and now his cultivation path has been obstructed. Perhaps I should bestow this talisman on him. With a pill, he should be able to elevate to the late stage of the Qi cultivation realm. With a deft movement, the gray talisman flew into Li Xuanxuan's brow like a meteor. A light appeared before Lu Jiangxian's eyes, and several gray characters emerged holding profit and keeping prosperity. Unlike in the past when the Li family members had several talisman Qi to choose from, Li Xuanxuan was given only one option. This particular talisman Qi, though uncommon, could slightly enhance the success rate of alchemy, talisman drawing, and other 100 arts of immortal cultivation. Based on Lu Jiangxian's current understanding of talisman Qi, it should also be able to balance fortunes, calm storms, and mitigate any potential turmoil. This talisman Qi is a decent one for Li Xuanxuan. It's a blend of fate and divine ability. With its protection, he should be able to live a few more years. After bestowing the talisman Qi, Lu Jiangxian returned his attention to the blood beads on his table. With a gentle manipulation of his mana, the blood beads quickly melted and merged, forming a fist-sized crimson jade pearl. Lu Jiangxian swept his divine sense through it, silently discerning the divine ability it harbored. I knew it. Kai Buzi's Dao foundation is the heavy murk. If Kai Wei could advance to the peak of the Purple Mansion realm, then surely the Azure Pond sect must have a complete set of cultivation techniques to build the Dao partners. I wonder which metallic essence these Dao partners are after. Observing the Purple Mansion realm cultivators of Jiangnan, they all seem intent on avoiding cultivating the same Dao lineage. If it is the pristine water origin talisman essence they are looking for, will it impact the pristine water true monarch? Lu Zhongxian's limited understanding of cultivation realms above the Purple Mansion left him with a nagging doubt. I guess I can only wait for a more suitable time to gather further information. When blood was spilled on Mount Lijing's jade platform, the catfish demon collapsed immediately. Blood, light, and incense slowly floated away, invisible to the onlookers. Li Shuangxuan was closely monitoring the younger ones in the family when he suddenly felt something stirring in his Shenyang mansion. A gray light appeared and the mana in his body surged. Stunned by the unexpected surge in mana, Li Shuangxuan's face flushed. After a few moments, he grasped the situation and quickly seated himself cross-legged. The Li family members quickly stepped back, and after the time it took for a stick of incense to burn, Li Shuangxuan's cultivation realm had risen from the 4th to the 6th heavenly layer of the Qi cultivation realm. He slowly exhaled and opened his eyes. "Congratulations, father," a group of juniors said in unison. Li Shuangxuan stroked his beard, smiling broadly as he explained the function of his new talisman Qi to his family. "I never thought I'd receive talisman Qi at this old age, and its effects align so well with my needs. With this, my success rate in crafting talismans has improved." He laughed, then cheerfully pulled Li Yuanjiao closer and said, "Maybe I should stabilize my cultivation for a few years, then use that talisman pill to reach the late stage of Qi cultivation realm and boost our family's combat power." Li Yunjiao naturally congratulated him and nodded in agreement, inwardly pleased with the outcome. Despite that, the blood of the Purple Mansion realm cultivator had not been particularly impactful. It had merely produced a gray talisman. While it looked more refined than usual and glowed slightly brighter, it was still just a gray talisman and too ordinary to be given to Ximing or Zijin. By the time a foundation establishment realm cultivator emerges in our family, those two children should also be in the Qi cultivation realm. Perhaps by then, we should hunt for a foundation establishment realm demon to request a talisman for them. 2 separate sacrificial rituals were being conducted at the mountain. The one hosted by those who had received a talisman seed in the Li family took place atop the mountain, while another happening at the foot of the mountain was overseen by Li Zicheng. As the eldest of the generation of Xian Yue, Li Zicheng led the others in his generation in a ceremony that was both lively and vibrant. Li Yuanping had planned everything meticulously. Although Li Zicheng initially felt awkward about not receiving a talisman seed, his role in managing the ceremony proved to be a strategic decision. It not only prevented him from feeling out of place, but also provided valuable exposure for the younger members of the Zai and Yue generation. Feeling the weight of his responsibilities, Li Zicheng had begun preparing half a year ago. Now, with the ritual successfully completed without a hitch, he finally let out a sigh of relief and noticed only then that his back was soaked with sweat. As soon as he changed his clothes after descending from the sacrificial platform, someone came over to inform him that Li Yunjiao wished to see him. Without further delay, Li Zicheng hurried up the mountain. Upon entering the main hall, he saw a man dressed in a black robe sitting at the center, his brow furrowed with concern. Ever since the passing of the old ancestor, second uncle rarely smiles. Unbeknownst to Li Yunjiao, these changes in him were more apparent to Li Zicheng, who, being significantly older than his younger brothers, remembered vividly what Li Yunjiao was like in his youth. Given his kind and generous nature, Li Zicheng was an empathetic person. He kneeled and greeted. Zicheng pays his respects to second uncle of the 4th lineage. "Congratulations on your significant advancement in immortal cultivation." Chapter 414, Brothers Bound Together, II. Although Li Yunjiao originated from the 1st lineage as a direct descendant of Li Changhu, he had been adopted into the 4th lineage as a direct descendant of Li Qijing. However, the major sect on the mountain was close-knit and typically overlooked such nuances, paying attention to these distinctions only during formal events. Unbeknownst to Li Zicheng, whose heart ached to see the changes in his second uncle, Li Yunjiao also harbored feelings of guilt toward him. Back then, this child wasn't picked for the talisman seed, and I had to make him leave the mountain. And now, I have to take away the spiritual Qi of heaven and earth aura that he rightfully deserves to his younger brother. Though Li Yunjiao felt guilty, his decisive nature did not allow him to dwell on it for long. He paused briefly before saying warmly, "Zicheng, now that you've broken through to the 5th stage of the embryonic breathing realm, it seems that your cultivation efforts are paying off." Chenger dares not feel complacent about his progress, Li Zicheng replied modestly. After a brief conversation, Li Yunjiao said bluntly, "Uncle Dong has managed to gather that golden yang radiant origin Qi in the West. It's estimated to arrive in a year or 2. This spiritual Qi is extremely difficult to collect. The family has spent 7 years just to gather a portion of it. Since this resource is so scarce, I'm afraid not everyone in the 4 lineages can receive it. It will only be allocated to the 2nd lineage." Li Zicheng was slightly taken aback before he hurriedly replied, "Zijin is now also at the 4th stage of the embryonic breathing realm. It's better for second uncle to reserve this spiritual Qi for himself." Cheng'er is not as talented and fears wasting such a precious resource. I cannot bear to make my younger brother wait another 7 years. Li Yuanjiao had not even finished speaking when Li Zicheng interrupted him. He halted his speech, sitting up straight with a hint of dangerous suspicion in his eyes. Having led his family, commanded soldiers, killed adversaries from Mount Yue, and dealt with corrupted nobles, Li Yuanjiao was accustomed to cunning and deceit. Consequently, Li Zicheng's display of loyalty aroused his suspicion, causing him to narrow his eyes as he scrutinized the young man closely. Yet upon observing Li Zicheng, he saw clear, honest eyes. Despite Li Zicheng's plain appearance and weak presence, his gaze was filled with trustworthy sincerity. Li Yuanjiao averted his gaze, secretly ashamed of his skepticism. He nodded and said solemnly, "If that's what you truly think, then very well, you may leave now." As Li Zicheng bowed and was about to leave, Li Yuanjiao's mood lightened. He laughed warmly and sighed, "Ah, you're truly a good older brother. Zicheng is fortunate to be your younger brother." Li Zicheng turned back and shook his head. He bowed to Li Yuanjiao again and said warmly, "Second uncle, as the eldest of my generation, whether it's Zicheng, Ziming, or Zijai who is currently training in the immortal sect, they are all my younger brothers. Brothers bound together by blood should stay united. Covetous envy or struggles for power are not in my nature, nor do they interest me." This was the first time he had spoken so boldly to Li Yuanjiao. Standing with his spear slung behind him and his robes billowing, his expression was earnest. In his mid-20s, the young man was at the height of his heroic vigor that lent a dignified air to his ordinarily plain and almost overly honest face. Li Yuanjiao tapped his knuckles on the table and sighed, feeling a weight lift from his heart. He chuckled, beckoning Li Zicheng closer. Taking a jade bottle from his sleeve, he said, "This is our family's secret barrier-breaking pill. Take it and break through to the 6th stage of the embryonic breathing realm. Strive to reach the Qi cultivation realm before 30. It will do you good. This potion is astonishingly effective, a treasured ancestral elixir that must remain a secret." Understood, Li Zicheng's face lit up as he accepted the bottle. After taking a profound scenery spiritual oath, he patiently awaited further instructions. Li Yuanjiao waved his hand with a smile and said, "Go now, find a cave dwelling and attempt your breakthrough in seclusion." Li Zicheng nodded, then retreated. Li Yuanjiao took out several pills and spirit items from his storage pouch, arranging them on the desk before writing a brief note to Li Yuanping. Cheng can be the mainstay of the clan. He is respectful to his elders and cherishes his younger peers. Second uncle lived frugally when he was still alive, and the second lineage suffered. Wudu Peak shall provide the sustenance and spirit resources he needs. After putting away his brush and ink, the smile on Li Yuanjiao's face slowly faded. He gazed into the distant sky, piercing through layers of clouds, and thought he saw a handsome and dignified face smiling back at him. Brothers bound together by blood should stay united. Big brother. Meanwhile on Mount Lijiang, Li Ziming had not returned home in 2 years. Upon his return, he and his father, Li Yuanping, discussed family affairs late into the night. After their long conversation, he first visited his mother, then Madame Du. Madame Du, the wife of Li Xuanxuan and mother of Li Yuanping, was a distinguished Qi cultivator within the clan, known for her formidable abilities. Li Ziming, who had always been dearly loved by his grandmother since childhood, was now also a Qi cultivator. Upon their reunion, she eagerly handed him pills and spirit items, whispering, "These are from your grandmother's maternal family. Just use them without reservation." Li Ziming smiled wryly as he accepted them, then spent a few days settling a few family matters. Finally finding some leisure time, he sat on the stone steps of the small courtyard under the moonlight and began meticulously organizing his medicine pouch. Zhao Yuanci had prepared a set of medicine-gathering techniques for him. Li Ziming had devoted himself to studying it and was now seeing modest benefits. At least, he could now store most spirit items of the embryonic breathing and Qi cultivation realms without damaging their medicinal properties. Brother Cheng invited me to eastern Mount Yue. He has probably prepared a few spirit items. Big brother always puts others before him. As he was lost in thought, a sudden tap on his shoulder startled him. Unguarded in the safety of his own home's formation, he looked up with a smile to see a figure with sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. Zicheng. Li Zicheng, usually somber and reserved, rarely smiled. Seeing his brother after so many years brought a smile to his face as he leaned in, sniffing. "You have a strong scent of herbs on you," he commented playfully. Li Ziming replied with a warm smile, "That's how Master Zio's medicine-gathering technique is. The scent is quite potent, but it can sharpen your mind and soothe your soul. You seem to have softened up quite a bit," he added. Li Zicheng stood with his hands clasped behind him. Among the brothers from the generation of Zian Yue, he most embodied the Li family's spirit. While Li Zicheng was generous and Li Zijai was graceful, Li Ziming was gentle. Only Li Zicheng remained cautious and skeptical, carrying his sword with him everywhere he went. Li Ziming chuckled and asked, "I heard you've been training diligently on Mount Yuding every day. What brings you home so suddenly?" "Second uncle sent for me." Li Zijian's face turned slightly gloomy as he continued in a subdued tone. I wonder why Uncle Jiao summoned me up the mountain. He spoke of Big Brother's generous nature, insisting that it not be taken for granted. He also mentioned that I am more talented and should watch out for my big brother. His gray-black eyes shimmered in the moonlight, giving him a particularly striking look as he added with a hint of suspicion, I wonder if he's indirectly blaming me. Given my big brother's nature, who wouldn't get along with him? Could someone be gossiping? Li Ziming replied softly, Uncle Jiao lost his brother when he was younger. Perhaps he was just being emotional and fearing that history would repeat itself. I've heard that the performances in the Liyuan Theater below the mountain often leave the audience in tears, regardless of their age. The two fell silent for a while. Li Zijian, cradling his sword, finally spoke softly after a long pause. Brother Cheng is gradually taking over home affairs. Our half-brothers have families of their own. You and I are approaching the Qi cultivation realm, and second uncle is nearing the foundation establishment realm. The clan's future will soon rest in our hands. He turned his head slightly to the side, the cold blade in his arms catching the moonlight and gleaming coldly as he chuckled. Study well with the fire while I take to the snowy paths. With your medicine and my blade, the clan has nothing to fear. Li Ziming laughed in cheerful agreement. Indeed, the two brothers shared spirit wine under the moonlight, conversing through the night from Azurpan to Jiangnan and its northern reaches. It was only when dawn broke, painting the world in golden red, that they staggered to their beds. Chapter 415, Dawn-Colored Qi. In the Azurpan sect, a brisk breeze swept along the quiet path as a cultivator, covered from head to toe, sped along the road. The white glow beneath his feet was a clear sign that the divine movement spell was activated. Finally back, Li Zijai looked weary with a furrowed brow as he navigated the path at the base of Kingsui Peak, his black robe tattered and dusty. This assignment lasted 2 whole months. There are countless matters to address below the mountain. Without my prior experience at home, this would have been quite the challenge. Not every disciple of the Azurpan sect could focus solely on cultivation. Worldly distractions often interrupted their practices. The nature of these distractions varied, some trivial, others troublesome, and their assignment typically depended on the influence of their immortal peak within the sect. Kingsui Peak had been in decline for years. Under Si Yuanbai's protection, Li Qijing could cultivate in peace most of the time. Si Yuanbai's profound skills in the way of talisman and his backing in the sect shielded his disciples from menial tasks. But now, since Yuan Tuan lacked significant influence or backing in the sect, Li Zijai often got the shorter end of the stick. His responsibilities often required him to leave the mountain and work his fingers to the bone. Moreover, with the arrival of more sword cultivators to the other peaks, Li Zijai dared not reveal himself and could only lament his plight inwardly. These swordsmen were primarily Qi cultivators who liked to challenge him to duels, promising to suppress their cultivation to make it a fair fight. They had trained with the sword for a few more decades than Li Zijai. Putting aside their profound mastery of the sword, with the viciousness gleaming in their eyes alone, Li Zijai knew that he was no match for them. Fearing he might embarrass himself in Kingsui Peak, Li Zijai always made his journeys up and down the mountain as inconspicuous as possible, wrapped tightly in his cloak to maintain a low profile and avoid trouble. When he finally reached the platform on the summit, he took a deep breath and looked up. The bamboo forest before him swayed in the wind, leaves fluttering down and surrounding a green deer that was as tall as a human. Atop it sat a Taoist woman with a lovely face who was watching him silently. Master, Li Zijai greeted her respectfully. Yuan Tuan nodded but said nothing about his unusual attire, seemingly unsurprised. I've brought you the cultivation technique, she said softly. She extended a slender arm presenting a pale yellow jade slip. Li Zijai accepted it eagerly, and a quick scan with his spiritual sense revealed its contents, Dawn Dew Gathering Technique. Instant relief washed over him as Yuan Tuan continued. This is also a grade 4 technique. While it may not rival the teachings exclusive to the immortal peaks of direct lineage, it is on par with the sect's standard cultivation technique. It's challenging to master, which deters many from practicing it. The content is only available up to the foundation establishment realm. Li Zijai listened in silence, not questioning why his master had not chosen the superior clear essence rain control technique. Yuan Tuan moved her lips slightly, but her whispers seemed to echo directly in his ears. Most of this cultivation technique's Dao partners are lost. Only several incomplete legacies remain in Wu state, so there's no cause for concern. Li Zijai could not fathom the trouble Yuan Tuan had gone through to secure this cultivation technique. Moved, he began to express his gratitude. Master's kindness is. However, Yuan Tuan cut him off abruptly with a gentle voice. It is what I should do. She locked eyes with him as she continued. This cultivation technique requires you to gather dawn-colored qi, but it's a rather troublesome process as it requires one to ascend to the clouds and descend into deep valleys. The sect would never hand over the qi gathering technique to your family, so they could help you collect it either. The only option is to purchase the spiritual qi from the sect end at a steep price. Li Zijai looked up, his voice tense with unease. About the price. 120 spirit stones. Yuan Tuan's voice was cold, tinged with a hint of vexation. The amount shocked Li Zijai, causing him to bow his head as a tumultuous conflict waged within him. Yuan Tuan added, should your family coffers fall short, I will provide the remainder. Thank you, master. Li Zijai kneeled and bowed deeply in respect. When he rose, Yuan Tuan had already vanished. He wandered to his small courtyard in a daze, wordlessly lighting a lamp and spreading out a sheet of letter paper, yet he just stared at it for a long time and wrote nothing. Under the flickering yellow lamplight that cast a golden-red glow over his face, Li Zijai pursed his lips. A single drop of ink fell from his brush. Setting the brush aside, he replaced the spoiled paper with a fresh sheet, but his anxiety persisted, and he began zoning out once more. Li Ziming bid farewell to his family and relatives at the Li residence and set out to return to the Xiao residence. Although he had yet to achieve Qi cultivation realm, the Dharma artifact on his wrist, the azure manifestation had transformed into a barking deer with vibrant green markings, playfully bounding along behind him. Concerned for his safety in a region now teeming with devil cultivators, the Li family refused to let Li Ziming return to the Xiao residence alone. Although the deer was a lot faster than embryonic breathing realm cultivators, the journey would still take several days and was fraught with danger. Without needing any suggestion from the clan, Li Yunjiao decided to personally escort Li Ziming on the wind. Winter had arrived early this year, bringing flurries of snow. After Li Yunjiao departed with Li Ziming, Li Yuanping assigned tasks to the other men. Just as they were also about to disperse, a streak of white light appeared in the distance, rapidly descending upon the grand formation. Yuan Haiyuan from the Yuan family has come to pay his respects. Please open the mountain gate. His voice, amplified by mana, echoed as Li Yuanping watched from within the mountain, momentarily startled. Yuan Haiyuan, why is he here? Yuan Haiyuan, a peak qi cultivator from the Yuan family's direct lineage, held an esteemed position despite little hope of achieving foundation establishment realm. He stood outside patiently, clad in Dharma clothes. With Li Yunjiao away, Li Qinghang took charge. She rode the wind and exited the grand formation, clasping her hands together and greeting the man in a clear voice. Li Qinghang of the Li family greets Senior. Clad in jade armor and carrying a spear on her back, her appearance was striking. Although Yuan Haiyuan was nearly a century old, his eyes shone brightly with recognition. He stroked his beard and smiled. Ah, so you're the thunder cultivator of your esteemed clan. I've heard much about you. He politely reached out with his spiritual sense and quickly retracted it. A look of surprise appeared on his face. To think you've reached the 6th heavenly layer of the Qi cultivation realm already. And at such a young age, barely 30, that's. Li Qinghang, uninterested in prolonging the discussion about her accomplishments, which she assumed he mentioned out of courtesy, offered a polite smile. What brings you here, Senior? She asked politely. Ah, regaining his composure, Yuan Haiyuan retrieved a sealed letter from his sleeve, despite the lingering look of disbelief on his face. My family received a few letters. One of them was from Zijai, so I came to deliver it, he explained. Given Yuan Haiyuan's stature, Li Qinghang surmised that there must be a significant reason for his personal visit. He must have something important that could not be discussed outside the formation. She accepted the letter and swiftly stowed it in her sleeve pocket. Please come in and have a seat, Senior, she invited with a smile. Sure. Yuan Haiyuan accepted the offer immediately, and the two flew into the formation together. Below them, Li Yuanping had already tidied the hall. By the time they stepped inside, even the spirit tea had been prepared readily. Yuan Haiyuan exchanged a few pleasantries with Li Qinghang before smoothly transitioning to the main topic. How is Senior Tangya these days? He asked softly. Chapter 416, Dawn-Colored Qi II. Yuan Haiyuan's initial visit to the Li family was to escort Li Qijing home. At that time, his cultivation had already reached the middle stage of the Qi cultivation realm, while Li Tangya was merely a humble embryonic breathing realm cultivator. Now that he was a foundation establishment realm cultivator, Yuan Haiyuan had to address him as Senior with due respect. Li Qinghang chuckled and replied, I'm sorry that his absence disappoints you, Senior. You've come at the wrong time, and our ancestor is currently cultivating in seclusion. Yuan Haiyuan gave her a look but did not dwell on the subject. Instead, he changed the topic. Your family Zijai has been cultivating at Kingsui Peak and has become quite formidable, now at the 6th stage of the embryonic breathing realm. I've come on behalf of Ancestor Yuan Tuan to ask this, as both of us are Zijai's elders with the child close to advancing to Qi cultivation realm. Does your family have any plans for him? Li Qinghang feigned surprise before responding without hesitation. The cultivation techniques available in the sect are certainly superior to those of my humble clan. We shall let your family ancestor decide. Haha, Yuan Haiyuan chuckled dryly and replied, Our ancestor, of course, wants the best for Zijai. The grade 4 clear essence rain control technique is naturally a good choice, but she is thinking of trying out a grade 5 technique. Among the Azure Pond legacies, the grade 5 dark floating compliant cloud sutra is exclusive to the Kai family's direct lineage, and the Heavenly Pronouncement Sutra is a secret that we guard closely. Yuan Haiyuan shared several points before pausing. He chuckled and then continued, "There are many ancient techniques available, though. I wonder how your esteemed family views them." Li Qinghong sipped her tea and eyed Yuan Haiyuan, who nearly had the supreme yin moonlight written across his forehead. With a resigned thought, she mused, "Does he think I'm gullible? This is all too obvious." A soft chuckle escaped her vermilion lips and she replied, "The Li family is of humble background. We put our faith in the old ancestor." "Very well, you're an understanding person, young lady." Yuan Haiyuan nodded, despite being secretly surprised. He was a seasoned cultivator, now over a century old, and usually treated people with generosity and kindness. His venerable status also carried considerable influence across various families. Had it not been for the ancestor Yuan Licheng's greedy scheming, Yuan Haiyuan would never have stooped to such measures. With a sigh of relief, he smiled and said, "I have some good news to share with you, young lady." Li Qinghong gestured for him to continue, and Yuan Haiyuan announced, "Fellow Taoist Li Xuanfeng from your esteemed clan has successfully established his immortal foundation, engraved stone in Yi Mountain City." "What, Uncle Xuanfeng has achieved foundation establishment realm?" Li Qinghong exclaimed, her face lighting up with a genuine smile. "Many thanks for this joyful news, Senior Yuan." Yuan Haiyuan nodded, his face beaming as he replied, "Congratulations. Your family now boasts 3 generations of foundation establishment realm cultivators, truly the mark of a prestigious clan." Although the inclusion of Li Muxian in his statement stretched the truth somewhat, it was meant as a felicitous remark. Li Qinghong smiled and thanked him, then heard the rustling sound of falling snow as a man dressed in a black robe entered the hall. Li Yunjiao had just returned from escorting Li Ziming. Along the way, he encountered and defeated a devil cultivator. He was merely at the peak of the embryonic breathing realm, far below his own capabilities. With a decisive palm strike, Li Yunjiao ended the confrontation almost instantly and seized the cultivator's storage pouch easily. Shaking the snow from his cloak, he tossed the blood-stained pouch onto the desk, exhaling warm breaths into the cold air. Glancing at Yuan Haiyuan, he asked, "And you are?" "Yuan Haiyuan from the Yuan family," the man replied. After Li Qinghong explained the situation to Li Yunjiao, he smiled at the man and said, "Greetings, senior." Li Yunjiao was not surprised by the news, having already anticipated it. Yuan Haiyuan added, "Furthermore, Senior Xuanfeng has been promoted by Taoist Master Yuan Su and serves as a general in Yishan City. He could be considered a distinguished member of the Azure Pond sect now." The siblings exchanged a glance with each other. Given their family's unpleasant history with the Azure Pond sect in the past, they had already lost their trust in those Purple Mansion realm cultivators long ago. They could only muster a strained smile, bracing for potential complications. Yuan Haiyuan then mysteriously remarked, "Taoist Master Yuan Su has always been a loner and kept his distance from the Purple Mansion realm cultivators within the sect. He has neither immortal peaks nor prestigious clans under his command. Your family could seize this opportunity." Seeing the thoughtful looks on the siblings' faces, Yuan Haiyuan laughed heartily and cupped his fist. "Well, I've delivered the message. I shall take my leave now." After the siblings had escorted Yuan Haiyuan out of the formation, they returned to the hall, still puzzled. Li Yunjiao then mused, "I heard that Taoist Master Yuan Su's immortal foundation is Spring's Echo, which has completely nothing to do with engraved stone. This immortal foundation is probably only valuable in the Golden Tang Gate." A thought suddenly struck Li Qinghong as she remarked, "Spring's Echo. Our family has a cultivation technique related to that Uncle Xuan's Cave Spring Clear Spirit technique, though it's merely grade 3 and can only be cultivated to the foundation establishment realm. If it's from the Azure Pond sect, even the technique to form this immortal Tao will surely surpass grade 3. Realizing their speculation led nowhere, they finally gave up in resignation. Meanwhile, Li Yunjiao pulled out a green-colored jade bottle from a storage pouch. "Take a look at this," he said with a grin. His journey to the Zhao family involved more than just escorting his nephew. Back then, Li Xuanxuan had unknowingly acquired a spirit water of heaven and earth from a devil cultivator's storage pouch in the marketplace. For a long time, they had not been able to identify it. So Li Yunjiao had taken the opportunity to consult Zhao Yuanci himself. Zhao Yuanci, well-versed and insightful, quickly referenced several books before determining the substance's nature. Seeing Li Qinghong's baffled expression, Li Yunjiao explained, "This spirit water of heaven and earth is comparable to a treasured panacea. Named Earth Fiend's Cold Spring, it could quench fire poison, replenish baleful qi, and harmonize with numerous techniques truly valuable spirit water." Comparable to a treasured panacea, Li Qinghong repeated, tightening her grip on the bottle. A treasured panacea was far more significant than mere spirit items of the Foundation establishment realm. While items like Wanglin Blossom qualified as a spirit item of the Foundation establishment realm, they could not be called treasured panacea. The distinction was profound. Foundation establishment realm spirit items benefited only cultivators in that realm, whereas the treasured panacea possessed miraculous properties that even Purple Mansion realm cultivators coveted. The two siblings put away the spirit water of heaven and earth and took out Li Zijai's letter, carefully reading it. After a moment, Li Yunjiao silently put the letter away. Li Qinghang stood up, holding her spear. Having scanned the letter with her spiritual sense and read its contents, she clenched her jaw and said gloomily, 120 spirit stones, are they crazy? What kind of spiritual chi of heaven and earth costs that much? It's extortion. Although that was what she said, Li Qinghang looked at her silent elder brother, unsure of his thoughts. She then asked tentatively, are we still amassing the funds for Jie? Li Yunjiao put the letter away gently, then gritted his teeth. He raised his eyebrows, looking somber as he replied, yes, even if it means selling off all the spirit items in our treasury. He paused and then asked in a deep voice, how many spirit stones do we have in our family savings? Li Yuanping, who was nearby, stepped forward and replied, more than 80. As soon as Li Yuanping answered his question, he quickly added, it's almost time to pay our tributes though, big brother. After we gave King Seo a sum of spirit stones, we're already struggling. We can't afford to spend these savings. Chapter 417, Setting Sun I know, Li Yunjiao said, waving his hand dismissively. He picked up the storage pouch he got from the embryonic breathing realm devil cultivator he had killed earlier on his way home and began sifting through its contents quietly. The clan's vault still holds the mid-stage chi cultivation realm azure blades. We can sell them to build the emergency funds. As for that 6-stone cloud plate, it's a rare Dharma shield produced by the Azure Pond. We should keep that for ourselves, he said thoughtfully. After considering his options, he finally put the pouch away, adding, considering this was an embryonic breathing realm cultivator, the capacity of his pouch is small, hardly the size of a tabletop. Everything inside is probably worth only 10 spirit stones in total. Despite this, the devil cultivator was actually considered wealthier than most of his peers in the embryonic breathing realm. Li Yunjiao stowed the items just as Li Qinghang, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. The second lineage has nothing much to offer, but I have 9 spirit stones. You can have them, big brother. Without waiting for a response, she handed the stones to Li Yunjiao, who accepted them silently. Thanks, I owe you. Li Zijai was his only son. Selling Dharma artifacts was the limit of what he could leverage from the clan without causing a scandal. In other families, such actions might have led to accusations of selfishness and provoked internal strife, and it is not something that could be settled with a mere discussion. Li Qinghang merely shrugged and chuckled. They're yours now. They looked at each other for a moment before a smile broke across their faces. As soon as Li Yunjiao put away the pouch he was going through, he took a few more embryonic breathing realm Dharma artifacts out of the storeroom. He unfolded a map and scanned it briefly, intending to find a marketplace. Now that the Cloud Crown Peak market is destroyed, it takes much longer to reach other marketplaces, he murmured while analyzing the map before him. He initially planned to head to the Yuan family's market, but after estimating the distance, he realized that the Smoke Valley market to the west in the desert was much closer. I'll head to Smoke Valley market then. With communications being so unreliable now, this is a good chance for me to meet up with Uncle Dong. Li Yunjiao packed his belongings on the mountain hastily before departing. The snowfall intensified, drifting like goose feathers and blanketing the town and mountains in white. Li Zijian, accompanied by a group of elders, bid farewell to Li Ziming before returning to the mountain himself. He walked in the snow with his hands clasped behind his back. His thin and bright clothing stood out against the increasingly ethereal landscape. Unlike his elder brother Li Zicheng, who was burdened with many clan responsibilities, Li Zijian enjoyed an easier role at the clan affairs courtyard. He spent his days training in seclusion, occasionally descending the mountain to slay demons. After walking about a dozen li, Mount Yuding loomed ahead, its peak covered in snow and peppered with green pines. Upon Yuding's pines the snow falls, chasing away evil with its silent thrall. Li Zijian murmured. Having cultivated on Mount Yuding for many years, he had seen the pines multiply, and the mountain itself seemed to stretch ever higher, almost piercing the clouds. Li Qinghang, the town's guardian, wielded thunder to vanquish demons. The 4 towns at the base of Mount Yuding often celebrated her with poetry. Li Zijian had read some of them and even remembered a few lines. Approaching the mountain's base with his sword in arms, he was met by 2 figures who bowed respectfully upon seeing him. Greetings, young master. They were then family's brothers, Ensiming and Ensiwei. Both of them were a few years older than Li Zijian, and were sent by Li Yuanping to train at Yuding Peak. Ensiming had a sword at his side, while Ensiwei carried a spear on his back. Both wore gold rings around their wrists. Li Zijian exchanged a few pleasantries with them before opening the grand formation with a secret seal. The golden light flickered slowly just as it opened, and Siming stepped forward, hesitating before saying softly, "Young master, our younger sister at home is 12 this year. She has a spiritual orifice and is in the second stage of the embryonic breathing realm. Not only that, she has a lovely face," and he looked rather awkward and was stumbling slightly over his words. Li Zijin, holding his sword, stepped forward with the grand formation closing behind him. He trudged through the snow, asking, "Is master in thinking of aligning in family with the second lineage through marriage?" Both men affirmed eagerly, then offered some nice words. However, Li Zijin merely laughed and said, "After my father's passing, the second lineage is now led by my aunt. If she and the clan agree, I can certainly meet your sister." Upon hearing his reply, the two brothers could only nod in agreement. Li Zijin gazed at the white snow dusting the pines and sighed. "This matter is not ours to decide." The brothers nodded in understanding. Running his thumb along the sheath of his sword, Li Zijin let his thoughts wander. The family members are all very talented. If second uncle fails to break through to the foundation establishment realm, at least my two brothers-in-law will become peak chi cultivators in 50 years. By then, perhaps my father-in-law will also reach peak chi cultivation realm or beyond. He caught a falling snowflake and watched it melt in his palm. The family is unaware that my family is protected by a mirror. They likely worry that if their daughter marries into our first lineage, their children could meet a grim fate, and marrying into the second lineage might require them to shoulder the heavy responsibility of overseeing the family's affairs. And Jian is probably clueless, so Li Feiruo had to send these brothers to test the waters. Just then, a clump of snow fell from a green pine, disrupting Li Zijin's thoughts. He smiled at the brothers and said courteously, "I'm ascending the mountain to resume my training." Li Yuanjiao had been riding on the wind for half the day, and he crossed the center of Moongaze Lake to its western shore. The area was dotted with both large and small mountain ranges, home to dozens of immortal cultivation families. Most were embryonic breathing realm families, with very few being chi cultivation realm families. This region was under the domain of a mid-stage foundation establishment realm rogue cultivator named Taoist He, a recluse who had little to do with the wider world, subsisting on offerings collected within his small parcel of land. The nearby families wisely chose not to provoke him. Continuing along the western shore, a towering mountain that split the sky soon came into view. The terrain was rugged and narrow with a stark, rocky summit, and the spiritual energy here was sparse. Known as Ziping, this mountain marked the boundary between the arid desert and Moongaze Lake. It also served as the frontier between the Azure Pond sect and the Golden Feather sect. After traversing Mount Ziping, the climate immediately turned hot and dry. Days of flying brought the gradual emergence of yellow sands, and soon, an imposing pass loomed ahead. Smoke Valley Pass, an ancient stronghold in Yue State, now occupied by the Golden Feather sect's Smoke Valley Temple. As Li Yuanjiao approached the pass, his spiritual sense detected the heat and light of a powerful grand formation, ready to activate at a moment's notice. Li Yuanjiao from Lijing's Li family has arrived to pay respects. Please open the grand formation, Temple Master, he said as he transmitted his voice via mana. Moments later, a Taoist priest emerged from the formation. His cultivation was modest, at the third heavenly layer of the Qi cultivation. However, his half-yellow and half-white robe looked somewhat unusual. Nevertheless, he greeted Li Yuanjiao with a broad smile. "Greetings, fellow Taoist. I am Bai Yinzi from Smoke Valley." Li Yuanjiao returned the smile, observing the priest's overly humble demeanor and eager expression. "Are you here to see Taoist Dong? Come with me inside, fellow Taoist," the man said in a welcoming manner. Although Chen Dong had resided here for many years, Li Yuanjiao was still too wary to follow the man inside. His gaze lingered on Bai Yinzi's face before chuckling and resting his hand on the hilt of his sword. "I prefer to stay here. Please get Uncle Dong to come out here," he said. Bai Yinzi's face fell slightly as he wiped the sweat on his face, his lips quivering as he replied hesitantly, "I'm afraid that won't be convenient. Taoist Dong has sustained injuries and shouldn't be moving around. It's better for you to come inside, fellow Taoist." Li Yuanjiao laughed and replied, "Is that so?" Bai Yinzi breathed a sigh of relief, his smile returning. However, as Li Yuanjiao advanced a step forward, his expression abruptly hardened, turning fierce. Such audacity, he boomed. He had already unsheathed the Qingche sword. The blade gleamed brightly, emitting a piercing whistle as Li Yuanjiao executed the celestial moon-slash technique. Bai Yinzi felt a sharp cut on his face. With a horrified cry, he hastily summoned his earth-yellow tortoise shield Dharma artifact, pleading miserably, "You've misunderstood me, fellow Taoist. Spare me, please." Li Yuanjiao, however, was not inclined to trust this man. Thoughts raced through his mind like lightning. Is Uncle Dong still inside? He's trying to lure me into the formation. There must be no other foundation establishment realm cultivators around. I must hold him hostage and see if I can negotiate for Uncle Dong's release. If that doesn't work out, I can at least avenge him. As these thoughts flashed through his mind, his sword arc struck the shield. This tortoise shield, likely a prized Dharma artifact of the temple and appearing to be of high-grade Qi cultivation realm, wailed under the impact. The Kingch sword, a Foundation Establishment realm Dharma weapon, proved far superior. Chapter 418, Setting Sun II. Bai Yinzi's face flushed red from the exertion and fear as he cried out desperately, "Taoist Dong, come quickly. Your family is about to kill me." These words caught Li Yunjiao off guard and he relented slightly. "Let go of your Dharma artifact and I'll spare you," he said. Bai Yinzi's face was still crimson. He shut his eyes and stood frozen on the spot as the light on his Dharma artifact slowly faded. With his sword held to the man's throat, Li Yunjiao was somewhat convinced by the man now and began to feel rather awkward. Young master, young master." A middle-aged man flew out of the formation, looking pale and with several medicinal packs attached to his body. He smiled wryly and assured Li Yunjiao, "This is a misunderstanding." Li Yunjiao sheathed his sword, then bowed slightly to Bai Yinzi and apologized with mild embarrassment. "Sorry, fellow Taoist." Still trembling with fright, Bai Yinzi muttered, "I see. Such is the might of the Sword Immortal clan. Half of my soul nearly fled my body as soon as you raised your sword." Chen Dong also apologized to Bai Yinzi. Having regained his composure, Bai Yinzi waved off the incident and simply replied, "It was my poor choice of words that caused the misunderstanding. I should be the one apologizing. You have been most gracious, young master." Despite being away from home for many years, Chen Dong respectfully addressed Li Yunjiao as young master, consequently influencing Bai Yinzi to do the same too. Li Yunjiao said nothing and simply allowed them to address him that way. With the misunderstanding resolved, Bai Yinzi let out a long sigh and was finally comfortable enough to speak normally. "It's no surprise that your esteemed clan could thrive in the treacherous territories of the Azure Pond sect, expand its territory, and ascend to become such a prestigious clan. Such determination is truly beyond my emulation." Having sheathed his sword, Li Yunjiao's stern features relaxed. Although he no longer looked as vicious as earlier, he still looked rather fierce. Bai Yinzi clicked his tongue in admiration before continuing. "The Golden Feather sect, under which I serve, also imposes a hefty immortal tax. Yet it's nothing compared to the ruthless measures of the Azure Pond sect. They obliterate opposition at every opportunity. Even when temples are annexed, we must report to the Golden Feather sect before proceeding with any further mergers, and we certainly do not resort to killing everyone. In my opinion, the Azure Pond sect and Gold Tang Gate behave no differently than devil cultivators. Let's keep our conversation between us, lest we be accused of slandering the immortal sect," he added with a slow shake of his head, almost as though in dejection. Li Yunjiao listened patiently to Bai Yinzi's tirades. As soon as Bai Yinzi paused to catch his breath, Li Yunjiao seized the opportunity to turn to Chen Dong, his voice filled with concern as he asked, "What has gotten you into this state?" "Devil cultivators." Chen Dong was now at the 6th heavenly layer of the Qi cultivation realm. A smile appeared on his pale face as he explained, "A few days ago, a band of devil cultivators headed north, passing by Smoke Valley Temple over Mount Ziping. I helped the temple cultivators defend the Grand Formation, but I sustained some injuries and have been bedridden for many days. I requested the temple master to come out and greet you, but I didn't know that would end up causing a misunderstanding." Upon hearing this, Li Yunjiao pressed further, eager for details. "Where did those devil cultivators go?" "After a prolonged battle, they crossed Mount Ziping and likely headed to the west shore," Chen Dong replied. Li Yunjiao estimated the timing and realized he likely could not catch up to them now, so he could only sigh regretfully. The fact that those devil cultivators failed to breach this Grand Formation meant that most of them were early-stage Qi cultivators. If Li Yunjiao could rally the cultivators in his family to intercept them, they could potentially eliminate the threat and loot them to amass funds. Li Yunjiao then retrieved several pills from his storage pouch and handed them to Chen Dong, whose own supply had long been depleted in the fierce battle. Gratefully accepting the supplies, Chen Dong expressed his gratitude. He smiled and introduced the other man, saying, "This is Bai Yinzi, the temple master who has greatly aided me over the years, providing everything from rations to spirit vein support. He is truly a kind and honest soul." Li Yunjiao cupped his fist and acknowledged Bai Yinzi, while Bai Yinzi waved his hand and laughed. "Taoist Dong has also been a great help to me over these years. He has defeated several rivals at the temple fair. I owe him much for the support and am more than happy to provide food and lodging for him." Chen Dong responded with a warm laugh, and Bai Yinzi continued enthusiastically, "Fellow Taoist Dong is a good-natured person. Even those he has defeated admire him. He's earned quite a reputation across this desert over the years." The two continued conversing for some time. Bai Yinzi then invited them both back to drink and feast until the sunset. Eventually, Chen Dong finally returned to his courtyard with Li Yunjiao. As they closed the door behind them, they activated an isolating formation. In the center of the courtyard sat an old woman, her face etched with wrinkles around her eyes and on her forehead. She held an oil lamp which illuminated the paper she was writing on with a brush. Looking up as the two men entered, she greeted them softly. "Ah, you are here, Jiaor. Auntie." Li Yunjiao hesitated for a moment before recognizing her. Li Jingshan had aged significantly, now over 50 and drastically different from his memories, except for her eyes, which remained as gentle and warm as ever. It was rare for mortals of Mount Dali to reach such an age. Chen Dong had been nourishing Li Jingshan with spirit items, so she still seemed to be in good health. With a smile she asked, "How is everything at home? Is second uncle still doing well?" Hearing her questions, Li Yunjiao's composure faltered and tears welled up in his eyes. He shut his eyes, his hand gripping the hilt of his kinked sword which buzzed and vibrated with his emotion. With a sorrowful tone, he revealed, "The old ancestor has left this world to express his gratitude to the Supreme Yin." Upon hearing this, Li Jingshan's face immediately paled and tears streamed down her cheeks. Chen Dong also seemed to be taken aback by the news as the expression on his face changed and he stood frozen in place. "I see. This moment has finally come." Although Li Jingshan had received a few pieces of news from home and had somewhat mentally prepared herself, Chen Dong reacted as if struck by lightning, his face contorted in disbelief. "Impossible, how can this be?" he cried aloud. Chen Dong, normally composed even in the direst of circumstances, had completely lost his composure, his face contorted with a torrent of emotions. Taking a few steps back, his eyes darkened as he uttered in disbelief, "Unless a Purple Mansion realm cultivator intervened, who could possibly have killed second uncle?" Without thinking, Chen Dong had also addressed him as second uncle. His face flushed as he gasped for breath. Li Yunjiao quickly reached out to support him, channeling qi through his meridians. After a moment, Chen Dong coughed up a mouthful of black blood. Since he had sustained internal injuries, his complexion visibly improved after he spat out the blood. Looking up, he asked, "Was it an old wound from Maha?" "Yes." With this confirmation, Chen Dong wiped away the blood from the corner of his mouth and murmured, "The heavens must be envious of the talented, to think that all the 4 brothers of Lijing died so silently." Li Yunjiao turned his head away slightly, as the family had not acknowledged Li Qijing's death. Chen Dong, who had supported them for years, must have had his reasons for keeping such matters close to his heart. Now, overcome with emotion, he had let the words slip. After being comforted by Li Jingshan for a moment, Chen Dong regained his composure. He hung his head and apologized. "I'm sorry you had to see that." Unable to find the right words of comfort, Li Yunjiao continued to focus on helping Chen Dong fix his meridians. Chen Dong then remarked, "Please allow me to rest for a bit. Tomorrow I will take you to Smoke Valley Market." Li Yunjiao nodded, and the couple supported each other as they moved toward the inner courtyard. Soon after, the sound of muffled sobs could be heard from the doorway. Li Yunjiao sat in silence and was lost in his own thoughts, now all alone in the courtyard. The tea on the table remained untouched, its colors mingling with the hues of the blood-red sunset. He rested his hand on his knee, gazing toward the red sun dipping below the desert horizon as he let out a sigh. Smoke rose in shapes that resembled serpents, whales, wolves, and snakes, all melding into the dark red distant sky. Chapter 419, Compassionate Appearance I. Located in the desert, the street of Smoke Valley Market was paved with sandstone. After walking for a bit, Chen Dong and Li Yunjiao heard the calls of merchants hawking their wares. As they raised their gaze, a sea of people stretched before them. During their walk, Li Yunjiao shared the news of Li Xuanfeng's breakthrough to the Foundation establishment realm with Chen Dong, who looked slightly better upon hearing it, though his tone suggested that he had already expected this. Xuanfeng has always been extraordinary since young. He's the most talented among all his brothers, so his achievement was to be expected, Chen Dong had remarked simply. After walking a little more, Chen Dong had pretty much returned to his usual self. He pointed at the bustling crowd and explained, "Despite the barrenness of Smoke Valley Desert, it is rich in spirit resources and ores. Cultivators from all directions flock here, making the number of embryonic breathing realm cultivators here far surpass those at Cloud Crown Peak." He looked around cautiously, his voice diminishing to a whisper before shifting to mana transmission. "Ultimately, it's due to the Golden Feather Sect's lax control over the temples and their handling of rogue cultivators. This balance allows many lower-ranked cultivators to thrive peacefully here, their numbers dwarfing those at Azure Pond." Li Yunjiao observed the crowd around them and nodded in agreement. The Azure Pond sect has the largest number of Purple Mansion, Foundation establishment, and Qi cultivators, though. It sees less return from the embryonic breathing realm cultivators than it could gain from regular annexations and purges. This also ensures that the incapable naturally yield to the more capable and talented. Thus, valuable resources aren't squandered on mediocrity. After serving the Azure Pond sect for such a long time now, the Li family had naturally developed deep connections and insights over the years. Li Yunjiao elaborated, The many embryonic breathing realm families in the region can only cultivate spirit patties and must contend with others. They will never be able to compete with Foundation establishment prestigious clans with high-ranking cultivators in their ranks. His gaze lingered on the market stalls briefly as he sighed. Yet I must admit that the Azure Pansec systems and strategies are more ruthless and sophisticated, enabling them to evolve from a minor sect on Mount Azure Pond to the formidable entity that they are today. Chen Dong fell silent. The atmosphere grew somber, prompting them to shift the conversation. Li Yuanjiao furrowed his brow. Uncle Dong, I brought a bottle of minor pure spiritual qi with me. It's a common item, yet I've seen none for sale. Why is that? He asked. Chen Dong pointed at the pervasive yellow sand and explained, minor pure spiritual qi can only be collected from mountains and forests, which are absent in the desert. The people have found various ways to resolve this issue since ancient times. Historically, the locals have devised various alternatives. Nowadays, most have adopted minor quicksand qi as a substitute. Minor pure spiritual qi is now rarely seen and not worth much. Chen Dong's explanation enlightened Li Yuanjiao. The two then searched for a shop and traded the azure blades for 50 spirit stones. Although the azure blades were mid-quality qi cultivation realm dharma artifacts, it was unfortunate that the curved dual blades were rarely seen. After several rounds of negotiation, it managed to only fetch a moderate price. Li Yuanjiao accepted the spirit stones with a sigh of relief. No wonder most qi cultivators wield embryonic breathing realm dharma artifacts. 50 spirit stones will take an ordinary qi cultivator over 10 years to save by just gathering qi without active cultivation. If they are actively cultivating, they will also need to buy supplies and rations, which can easily triple or quadruple this period. That's about 40 years of savings for a single dharma artifact. How many such 40-year spans does one have in a lifetime? He then retrieved a devil cultivator's sledgehammer that he had gotten from Li Qinghang from his storage pouch. This inferior qi cultivation realm dharma artifact was worth only 30 spirit stones. After selling the remainder of the embryonic breathing realm dharma artifacts, including Li Qinghang's 9 spirit stones, Li Yuanjiao managed to amass nearly a total of 100 spirit stones. With minor pure spiritual qi being both cheap and rare here, Li Yuanjiao decided to keep it for now. Chen Dong pushed 6 spirit stones into Li Yuanjiao's hands, rounding out the majority of the sum, leaving just over a dozen spirit stones unaccounted for. Zijai's letter mentioned that Yuan Tuan could provide some spirit stones, but relying on a Foundation establishment realm cultivator's favors for just a few stones really isn't worth it. Having gathered all their items, the two exited the market and flew across the vast desert. Li Yuanjiao hesitated slightly before asking Chen Dong, is there a way to earn spirit stones in the desert? Chen Dong pondered briefly before replying, there are ways, but most would take years, and it's unlikely you could gather more than 10 spirit stones. Upon hearing that, Li Yuanjiao could only perish this train of thought. He handed over the few pills in his possession to Chen Dong, then asked, Uncle Dong, how's the progress with the Golden Yang Radiant Origin Qi? It's about 80% ready, Chen Dong replied as he pulled a jade bottle from his storage pouch and added, it'll be ready in another year and a half. Good, Li Yuanjiao acknowledged with a nod of approval. I'll head back to the clan first. Take care, Uncle Dong. After some time I will come find you again. After exchanging a few parting words and promising to pay respects to Li Tongya on Chen Dong's behalf, Li Yuanjiao rode away on the wind. The Yu family of Linghai Prefecture had been a prominent clan for generations. Its descendants pledged allegiance to various immortal peaks within the Azure Pond sect, often competing fiercely among themselves for power and influence. In the abandoned city, streets and alleys lay dry and deserted, save for the faint sounds of conversation emanating from the Great Hall at the city's highest point. Here, a few of the Yu family's Foundation establishment realm cultivators stood in an awkward line. Historically, the heads of these family branches rarely met, communicating instead through messengers even for internal discussions. Yet this time they found themselves together in this desolate city, their expressions both a mixture of respect and tension. They were all clad in distinct attire. At the end of the hall sat a black-robed monk, his belly protruding as if he were 6 months pregnant. His face, gleaming with grease, shifted between broad grins and labored gasps for breath. Are you satisfied, Master Monk? Asked the eldest of the Yu family, stepping forward with a smile. Absolutely, I have no complaints. Your family has always been the most generous, offering up 16,000 souls. Truly, the Yu family possesses the greatest wisdom in not clinging to mortal coils, Murongzia responded with a huge grin. Ha ha ha, I'm glad to hear that, Master Monk. The old master of the Yu family laughed as a gust of wind swept through the empty streets, a sense of satisfaction welling within him. This one is about to become a Maha. Without the exchange of interests between the immortals and the Buddhists, how could the Yu family have ever connected with such a powerful figure? Now is the perfect opportunity to earn his favor before he attains the Maha status. With a broad, obliging smile, he continued with forced sweetness, "Is this city sufficient for you, Master Monk? If not, I can find more people of great virtue and wash them well before sending them into your belly for a good time." The monk, half reclining on a grand golden seat, hummed a few notes. His protruding belly was exposed, and it was visibly marked with blue and purple veins. He simply laughed off the offer. "No need, no need. I've already gathered 106,756 people. Any more and they might rupture my blessed land." He winced, grappling with the discomfort in his belly briefly. After several labored breaths, he added with a broad grin, "Since embracing the virtuous benevolent Zen Tao, I've abandoned the merciful one's feeble ways. Now, having realized the way, I will soon ascend to Maha. Then I shall reclaim the cultivation of my previous lives and reach even greater heights." Chapter 420, Compassionate Appearance, II. Murongzia was the master monk who had once passed through the Li family's territory over a decade ago. While traveling and consuming humans, he eventually found himself in Linghai Prefecture. Sitting in the golden seat with his swollen belly, he smacked his lips and proclaimed loudly, "This old monk is about to be enlightened. This old monk is about to be enlightened." Those from the Yu family naturally began congratulating him. Blood began flowing out from Murongzia's lower body. He flipped over as if trying to adjust his posture before exclaiming suddenly, "Alas!" Boom! His enormous belly burst open, emitting a strange fragrance and radiating bursts of colorful light. The sounds of whistling wind, a pleasant melody, and the laughter of men, women, and children erupted powerfully from within him. From the bloody remains of his body, a baby emerged from Murongzia's stomach. He rapidly aged into a 17 or 18-year-old figure with an androgynous and serene face. He had 14 arms, each wielding a Dharma artifact. As he moved, shimmery golden powder fell from his body, instantly transforming into animated figures that scurried about in excitement. The Yu family, witnessing this surreal scene, recoiled in horror with their eyes wide open in shock. The androgynous being picked up Murongzia's lifeless torso and consumed it as if it were a cucumber, devouring it in just 4 or 5 bites. Delicious. Blood trickled from the corner of the Maha's mouth as his figure began to swell dramatically. In mere moments, he had grown to the size of a hill, his massive form blotting out the sun. As he towered over houses and cities, crushing them beneath his feet, he parted his lips slightly and spoke in a soft, mysterious voice. "I, Murongzia, have today attained enlightenment as the 9th Maha reincarnate. I have connected with the 6 paths of compassion worldview and gained great divine ability. In 7 days, I invite all fellow cultivators to join me at the religious assembly." His voice rippled through the air smoothly like water, garnering echoes of congratulations. Cultivators from various sects in the north and south voiced their praises as Murongzia stood silent and proud in Linghai Prefecture. Murongzia moved his gaze and was about to say something when the void before him suddenly tore open. A man in white emerged, cradling a sword and regarding him silently. His face, obscured by mist, remained unseen, halting Murongzia's attempt to speak immediately. The celebratory sounds vanished too, leaving only a deadly silence around them. Shangyuan. A flicker of fear crossed Murongzia's androgynous, compassionate face, and he lowered his 14 slender arms. Taoist Master Shangyuan, clutching his sword, stared coldly at him and gave a simple command: "Return to Yan state." Arrogance immediately left Murongzia's face as he looked visibly deflated. He shrank until his body became the size of a normal human again, before he quickly scurried off into the void and vanished without a word. The remaining Yu family members were still kneeling in terror. They watched as Taoist Master Shangyuan also disappeared into the void without sparing them a single glance, leaving behind an empty city marked only by 2 large footprints. Phew. The Yu family members wiped the sweat from their foreheads, exchanged glances with each other, and then snorted coldly before dispersing. Meanwhile on Mount Yuding, Li Qinghang had said her farewells to Li Yuanjiao before settling into a period of cultivation on Mount Yuding. However, she soon felt the vast sky-fierce sparrow within her becoming restless. With frustration in her heart, her progress was slowed. How could this be? She set her spear down horizontally, her brow furrowed in deep thought. Could it be that a devil cultivator has trespassed on my grounds, or perhaps there is a disturbance in the blood qi that has affected my talisman qi? It might also be that I haven't had a proper fight in too long. All these years, the battles have been swift, decided within a few moves. Li Qinghang was not one for a peaceful life of quiet cultivation. She thrived in the heat of battle, only making progress when her spear was stained with blood. Now, having spent nearly a decade on Mount Yuding, practicing sporadically, her progress had naturally begun to slow down. After offending that demonic creature, I dare not enter Mount Dali recklessly. The demons in Moongaze Lake lurk in its dark undercurrents, elusive and well hidden. She missed her family, but knowing she could not venture far, Li Qinghang decided to settle on Mount Yuding. Cradling her spear, she watched the sun rise silently. Suddenly, her thoughts were interrupted by a loud noise and the crunching of snow underfoot. "Auntie." Li Zijian approached, walking on the snow. He cupped his fist respectfully and said, "There's a monk by the lake, and he has constructed a hut at the mountain's base to meditate." A monk. Li Tongya's incident had left Li Qinghang with a deep-seated hatred for monks. She frowned immediately, gripping her spear tightly as she asked in a cold voice, "What is his cultivation realm?" "Appears to be just a monk," Li Zijian replied, raising an eyebrow with concern, fearing his aunt's impulsiveness. He quickly added, "Auntie, this person traveled south under the guise of a mere monk, so he must have powerful backing. Please exercise caution and avoid unnecessary risks." "I know," Li Qinghang replied, her almond eyes narrowing as she clutched her spear. "Yet we cannot allow him to stay at the base of our mountain. What if he is lying in wait for Brother Jiao's return? Send someone to inquire why this bald cur has come," she instructed. After a brief pause, she continued, "Ensure that those at Lijiang are aware of the situation and ready to act anytime to suppress this threat." "The family head has been informed," Li Zijian replied with a nod. Together, they approached the formation plate. Li Qinghang reached out with her delicate hand and pressed on it, sending her spiritual sense through the device to survey the surroundings. As expected, she found a monk seated amidst the grass at the foot of the mountain. The monk was clad in a brown robe with wide sleeves, his head marked with ordination scars. His face was round and his features were unassuming, though not unattractive. He sat cross-legged with a bronze-ringed monk staff resting on his knees, his eyes firmly shut. After Li Zijian issued instructions, the formation soon stirred slightly. Nsiwei approached warily with a spear in hand and said softly, "I am Nsiwei of the Li family. Venerable monk, what brings you from afar? Do you have any questions?" The monk opened his small eyes and replied, "I am Qingheng of the Liao River Temple in Yan State. I wish to meet with the Peak Master of Yuding. Could you kindly convey my request?" Nsiwei, having received Li Zijian's instruction before descending the mountain, nodded and inquired, "May I know what you would like to find out, Master Qingheng? At least that will make it easier for me to relay it to the Peak Master." Qingheng paused gently before replying, "I come with no ill intentions. My journey is merely dictated by the path of Buddhism and the workings of fate, thus I have traveled far to wait here for the Peak Master." Nsiwei, unable to return empty-handed, pressed further, but the monk's replies circled back to his initial statement. Reluctantly, he returned up the mountain to report his words. Li Qinghang, typically wary of Buddhist cultivators, shook her head upon hearing this and said, "We know nothing of this monk's background, and it wouldn't be right to kill him outright. Let him wait if he so wishes. Additionally, send someone to the Zhao family to inquire about this Liao River Temple." The two boys departed right away to carry out her orders. Li Qinghang, finding her cultivation progress stalling, retrieved the Purple Thunder Secret Origin Technique Manual and began studying 2 of the secret techniques in it. After several days of studies, Nsiwei returned, bearing his spear and speaking gravely. "Peak Master, this monk initially claimed to be treating ailments. However, the townspeople, still traumatized by Murongzia, have ignored him. Undeterred, he has now settled in a hut at the mountain's base, continuing his cultivation alone." Li Qinghang set aside her jade slip and asked softly, "What did the Zhao family say?"